Chapter 998, Calling on a Helper. Guinness glanced at Jian Chen with suspicion, as if she wanted to see through Jian Chen's strength. However, she could not see through him with her level of cultivation, so Jian Chen seemed like an ordinary person before her. The two of us are extremely grateful that the Savior could help us, but the king of the Gilligan clan is just too powerful. Also, he has the support of many Class 7 magical beast elders. We will definitely not risk things so easily until we are sure that we can achieve victory, said Guinness. Although she had learned many of the things Jian Chen had gone through throughout the years from the White Tiger, she was still unsure of Jian Chen's exact strength. However, Guinness could guess. When she first saw Jian Chen, he was still an Earth Saint Master. He was unworthy of any importance in her eyes. To her, it was impossible for him to surpass her in this time, no matter how great his talent was. Guinness credited it all to some protective treasure on Jian Chen as to why she could not perceive his strength. After all, the Saint artifact was a very good example of a protective treasure. Jian Chen could not help but smile when he saw Guinness's lack of confidence. Senior is over-worrying. The king of the Gilligan clan may be a Class 8 magical beast, something equal to human Saint Kings, but he can still be considered as a weaker Saint King. I naturally have my methods of dealing with him. He cannot threaten us. Really? Do you really have the power to defeat the Gilligan clan? Guinness said in surprise. She became delighted. Jian Chen nodded and said, Senior, recuperate your strength first. Once you're in peak condition again, we'll head to the Cross Mountains immediately and kill our way into the Gilligan clan. We'll take revenge for your husband and Xiao Bai's father. Afterward, Guinness returned to the hall to recuperate. Jian Chen did not disturb newbies who was comprehending the battle skill, so he strolled around the artifact space at leisure with Yu. The artifact space had existed for hundreds of thousands of years. After such a long time, the place had become filled with countless magical beasts. Many Class 7 ones still remained even though all the Class 8 ones had left. The Class 7 magical beasts were born in the artifact space and also died inside there. They knew that there was a world outside the artifact space, but they could not leave at all to their dismay. They were essentially trapped in the artifact space, unless they reached Class 9 and became an existence on par with Saint Emperors. Otherwise, they would never be able to see the outside world. There are quite a lot of Class 7 magical beasts inside the Saint artifact. If I use them correctly, they can be an extremely powerful force, Jian Chen thought. He began to think of using the Class 7 magical beasts, but he dismissed it temporarily after some careful consideration. If he let out all those Class 7 magical beasts, the first people to stop him would probably be the 10 Protector clans. He knew very well that the Protector clans would definitely let so many Class 7 magical beasts appear on the Tianyuan continent, much less give him control over so many and let the Protector Changyang clan's power increase. He no longer feared the 10 Protector clans, but this was all because Rui Jin and He Yu were supporting him. If the two of them were not present, it would be very hard to contend with the other Protector clans with just the Changyang clan and themselves. I'll subdue those Class 7 magical beasts after I become powerful enough to take the Protector clans head-on. There'll be a day where they'll become useful to me, thought Jian Chen. He became extremely determined. He was unwilling to waste the huge force inside the artifact space. He just could not use it right now. The artifact space also contained many heavenly resources. Jian Chen was able to conduct a harvest properly over the next few days and collected a large amount of heavenly resources. He planned on bringing them to an alchemist and refining them into pills in the future. This would allow the flame mercenaries to grow stronger and simultaneously raise the people who were loyal to him. He had poured all the heavenly resources he had obtained from Tianjian before into the White Tiger with not a single one remaining. Other than the aged dragon's saliva he had kept before, he possessed no other heavenly resources. Jian Chen met the Class 7 Crow King once again during these few days. Jian Chen had once killed many of the Crow King's descendants when he competed within the artifact space as a Radiant Saint Master. This made it hold quite the grudge against him. If it were not for the fact that all the Class 7 magical beasts and above were trapped by the artifact spirit before, he probably would have been ripped into pieces long ago by the Crow King. However, it was different from before now. When Jian Chen met the Class 7 magical beast once again, it did not dare to show any dissatisfaction toward Jian Chen at all. Instead, it bowed politely to him, while Jian Chen did not make any trouble for it either. After all, it was possible for the Crow King to become a general under him in the future. Several days later, Rum Guinness' strength fully recovered. She was back at her peak. Then, she left with Jian Chen. Jian Chen brought Yu, the white tiger, and Rum Guinness out of the artifact space and returned to the cavern. He noticed Rui Jin and He Yu meditating nearby as soon as he emerged. The two of them had always been guarding the area for the past few days. Rui Jin and He Yu opened their eyes slowly and stood up at the same time. They looked at Rum Guinness nonchalantly as a sliver of interest flickered through the depths of their eyes. Although Rum Guinness' strength was insignificant before the two, her status as the winged tiger god's mother was enough to deserve special respect. "Senior, now that we've found Xiao Bai's mother, let's go take revenge at the Cross Mountains. Please help me pave a convenient path there," Jian Chen said to the two of them. Rui Jin spoke up after some thought. "In the few days we spent in Mercenary City, we gained a rough understanding of the current situation on the Tianyuan continent. The Cross Mountains possesses a force from the Beast God continent, so if you provoke them so openly, it's extremely likely that the Beast God continent will react violently. We're also almost the enemies of both the Tianyuan continent and the Beast God continent simultaneously now, while the Beast God continent has 3 Class 9 magical beasts. 2 of them have always been trying to get their hands on the winged tiger god, while the other is not trustworthy even though it has stood on the side of the winged tiger god. There is also the human Saint Emperor from the Tianyuan continent. Although his soul attacks cannot do anything to He Yu and me, his target is the winged tiger god as well. If he works together with the Class 9 magical beasts of the Beast God continent, it'll be very hard for us to deal with them with just He Yu and me. As such, we want to increase our power. Senior Rui Jin, do you want to gather the other Class 8 magical beasts that left the artifact space with you?" Jian Chen felt pleasantly surprised. "I'm not talking about them. They can't deal with Class 9 magical beasts even if they gather together. I was talking about that scorching Divine Phoenix of the Divine Phoenix clan," said Rui Jin. Then, he turned to He Yu and said, "He Yu, go with Jian Chen to the Cross Mountains. I'll go find Hong Lian. If there's anything you can't deal with, contact me through the secret technique." He Yu nodded silently. Rui Jin meant it when he said he was going. He immediately ripped open a space gate and left. He Yu did not tarry either, also ripping open a space gate to the Cross Mountains and leaving with Jian Chen and the others. Jian Chen passed through the space gate with Yu, and they traversed several million kilometers in an instant. Soon, they arrived at the edge of the Cross Mountains. Afterward, they all flew toward the depths of the mountain range. The high-ranked members of the 9 other Protector clans were all gathered together right now, excluding the Protector Changyang clan. Other than the nonchalant expressions of the people from the Pure Heart Pavilion, everyone else had their brows furrowed and were stern. This was not the first meeting they had held in the past few years. However, the intent was the same for all of them whenever they held one. If it were not about the winged tiger god, it would be about Jian Chen and the Changyang clan. Jian Chen had returned with the advantage of a divine hall, and even Saint Kings at great perfection could not harm him at all. They all felt extremely threatened by him as the winged tiger god followed him as well, along with his connection to the Changyang clan. They felt even more uneasy now that Jian Chen had the 2 supreme experts, Rui Jin and He Yu, beside him. Although the Protector clans were the ultimate force that protected the continent, a balance formed between them at the same time. They restrained each other, so even if a certain clan became powerful, they were unable to surpass a certain level. However, the current Changyang clan had already surpassed what they could allow or endure. If the Changyang clan obtained the help of Rui Jin and Heiyu, they could not be suppressed even if all 9 other clans worked together. They had a lot of hidden power, but this could only be used against invading foreigners or when they came across existences that they could not repel. Kaiser and the Tiger Emperor Lankiros gathered on the 98th floor of the Beast God Hall in the center of the continent. They were both sunken-faced. Sangxiong actually hindered me in the most crucial moment. If he had done something on that day, the winged tiger god would have fallen into our hands long ago. Kaiser clenched his fist tightly. He was extremely angry. Chapter 999, Returning mightily. Lankiros's face was also ugly, as he stood with his chest bare opposite of Kaiser. The light in his eyes flickered, and he said coldly, Sangxiong treats the winged tiger god in a completely different manner to us. If he's present, he'll ruin our plans sooner or later. His existence is a great latent danger. Kaiser's eyes also flickered. He growled after a while, if it were possible, I really would like to eliminate Sangxiong. However, he's one of the 3 rulers of the continent. If he falls, our continent's power will be greatly affected as well. Also, how difficult is it to kill a Class 9 magical beast? Not to mention, Sangxiong is part of the Peng clan. Their speed is the greatest in the world, so he can move around as he wishes. If he wants to flee, neither of us can stop him. Then what do we do now? Do we just watch the winged tiger god grow rapidly in the hands of that human youngster? Lankiros furrowed his brows. He was extremely stern. The winged tiger god is growing much faster than we expected in the hands of that human youngster. I never thought it would reach Class 7 so quickly. If it has some more time, it probably won't take long before the winged tiger god grows to a level that we can't deal with. At that time, it'll become our calamity. We did try to harm it before after all, and its father's death is connected to me in a way I cannot hide. Kaiser also furrowed his brows tightly when he heard that. He was confident in his own strength and feared no one. Origin energy had also ceased in the world, so breaking through was much more difficult than before, which made it impossible to surpass Saint Emperor. As a result, it was almost impossible that the winged tiger god could grow to a point where it could threaten him. However, the winged tiger god's fame was just too great. It was the irrefutable beast god since the ancient times, and its scariness and talent were indescribable. Beasts of antiquity could not compare with it, which was why Kaiser felt a little worried as well. Kaiser stood silently for a very long time in the center of the 98th floor in thought. His eyes flickered, as he appeared hesitant. A while later, he seemed to finally make up his mind. His eyes suddenly stopped wavering, and he growled, "We can't drag out the matter of the winged tiger god any further. The human Saint Emperor just happens to want the winged tiger god as well. We have similar intentions to him, so maybe we can work together." Lankiros hesitated. Will he agree? He wants to benefit from the winged tiger god, which will be impossible for him unless he works with us. After all, that human youngster has the protection from 2 experts that I can't deal with, Kaiser growled. Alright then. We'll go discuss it with the Path Lord of Carnal Desires later, Lankiros said helplessly. Afterward, Kaiser and Lankiros left the Beast God Hall together. They ripped open a space gate and proceeded to the Tian Yuan continent. With their strength as Saint Emperors, the Protector clans could not discover them when they went to the Tian Yuan continent as long as they did not create too great of a disturbance. As a result, the agreement of no trespassing between the Beast God continent and the Tian Yuan continent was purely ornamental to 2 of them, existing but without any real function. A ruddy old man silently appeared outside the 97th floor of the Beast God Hall after Kaiser and Lankiros had departed. He looked deeply in the direction that they traveled off to, as his expression changed constantly. He was one of the 3 rulers of the Beast God continent, the Peng Emperor Zhangqiong. Zhangqiong floated in the air as he stared off in the direction of the Tian Yuan continent for a very long time. In the end, he sighed gently and shook his head, before returning to the Beast God Hall. He murmured gently, "The winged tiger god has the protection of the Dragon King, the divine golden dragon. It shouldn't face any dangers. But where did they get their origin energy armor and weapons from? I wonder about the sacred dragon's sword and sacred dragon's armor in the hands of the golden divine dragon in particular. They are holy items of the dragon clan that vanished with the disappearance of the dragon clan and the divine phoenix clan all those years ago. Why would it suddenly appear in his hands? And according to my understanding from the records about the dragon clan, the 2 items don't possess origin energy at all." A majestic palace stood in the depths of the Cross Mountains. Class 6 magical beasts would constantly move around in its surroundings, entering and exiting from time to time. There was a plentiful number of them. The rare Class 6 magical beasts on the continent could be seen everywhere here, because this was where all the high-class magical beasts gathered. There were even quite a number of the Class 7 magical beasts, existences that were otherwise almost extinct on the rest of the continent. This was where all the power of Cross Mountains gathered, the Gilligan clan. A burly, middle-aged and bare-chested man meditated in a room within the Gilligan clan as he cultivated. Powerful ripples of energy permeated his surroundings, which caused the space in the room to constantly tremble. He was the Tiger King of the 2 kings of the Gilligan clan that had almost killed Jian Chen back when he left the Cross Mountains. The terrifying energy slowly settled down and a while later, he opened his eyes gradually. A sliver of weakness was hidden deep within his eyes. "I wonder when I can finally recover my strength at the 2nd heavenly layer," the Tiger King murmured to himself. When he went to deal with Jian Chen all those years ago, a great expert of the human race injured him in the crucial moment, which forced him to resort to a self-cannibalizing secret technique to flee. He was extremely injured, while his strength at the 2nd heavenly layer had also fallen to the 1st. This made it extremely difficult to heal, where even after so much time, he still had yet to make a full recovery. The Tiger King stood up from the icy cold floor. He paced around the room with his brows furrowed. He seemed rather stern. "I suddenly felt uneasy a few days ago, as if something big is going to happen, something extremely bad for me." "Just what is going to happen?" he murmured to himself. His eyes flickered as he revealed an expression of thought. He recollected everything that had happened in the past few years several times. Suddenly, his eyes froze and, he mumbled, "Is it because of the winged tiger god? Impossible. The winged tiger god is still young and weak. It's already extremely fortunate to be able to survive from the threat of the 10 protector clans, so why would it make me feel uneasy?" The Tiger King had always remained in seclusion to recover in the recent years, and had basically cut himself off from the outside world. His understanding of what had happened on the continent was rather limited. He knew that the 10 protector clans had basically scoured the continent for the winged tiger god, but he had no idea that Jian Chen had already returned forcefully with the winged tiger god. The barrier around the room suddenly disappeared. The door of the room opened, and the Tiger King disappeared. At the same time, a group of unwelcomed guests had arrived in the depths of the Cross Mountains that was known to be forbidden to humans. Jian Chen entered the depths of the Cross Mountains with Yu, Heiyu, Rum Guinness, and the White Tiger brazenly. They flew toward the Gilligan clan in a threatening manner. They flew extremely quickly, shooting across the sky like comets. They disappeared in the blink of an eye. There were quite a few Class 7 magical beasts in the depths of the mountain range, so their threatening manner of arrival naturally alarmed many of them. Powerful presences immediately appeared in many areas and 6 Class 7 magical beasts in human form shot toward Jian Chen's group from afar with lightning speed. They blocked the path of Jian Chen's group. A magical beast glanced across the 5 of them sharply and growled, "There are humans among you. Don't you know it's forbidden for humans to enter the Cross Mountains?" All those who trespass the depths of the mountain range are to be killed without mercy. When he reached this point, he suddenly paused. He stared at Rum Guinness with shining eyes and cried out of surprise, "Rum Guinness, how is it you?" The other magical beasts all looked toward Rum Guinness as well. Their expressions changed and became extremely mixed. There was animosity as well as regret. Rum Guinness slowly made her way to the front. She looked at the Class 7 magical beasts with some emotions and said bitterly, "Elders, long time no see. I hope you are still well." The magical beasts all looked at each other. Then, someone stepped forward. He pointed toward her and started to curse. "Rum Guinness, the River King said that your couple was working with humans, wanting to do horrible things to the Gilligan clan. We didn't really believe it at first, but by the looks of things, he was right. You really are working with humans." "Working with humans," muttered Rum Guinness. Afterward, she smiled sadly and said, "It's fine if the Tiger King tried to kill us. I never thought he'd incriminate us with such a great crime as well. Rum Guinness, since you've become a traitor of the Gilligan clan, you're our enemy. Elders, let's do it. Kill the traitor." Powerful ripples of energy immediately began to permeate from the Class 7 magical beasts as soon as they finished these words. They were about to attack. Although they could not see through Jian Chen and He Yu's strength, the Cross Mountains were their territory, so they feared nothing. Jian Chen's eyes grew cold. Just as he was about to draw his emperor armament, an earth-shaking tiger roar suddenly rang out from behind. It was extremely loud and echoed through the surroundings. It almost rang through the entire mountain range. The tiger roar possessed a great pressure, like the descent of a supreme lord. It was enough to make all bow down. This was the pressure of the winged tiger god. It possessed an ability to suppress magical beasts on a spirit level, so with the white tiger's roar, the entire mountain range became silent. All the Class 6 magical beasts and those below collapsed on the ground as fear filled their eyes. Even the Class 7 magical beasts they faced up against were stunned. They all forgot to attack, and stared at the white tiger by Rum Guinness' side in shock. A white-robed, middle-aged man suddenly snapped open his eyes as he cultivated inside the Gilligan clan. He leaped up from the ground and stared off into the distance in shock. He cried out, "The winged tiger god." At the same time, the Tiger King also trembled violently when he heard the great roar right after he had left his room. Disbelief flooded his eyes and, he called out involuntarily, "The winged tiger god." It's the call of the winged tiger god. It has actually come to the Cross Mountains. Chapter 1000, Revelation. The white tiger's angry roar shocked the entire mountain range. Its effects were undoubtedly earth-shaking. Not only did the expressions of all the Class 7 magical beasts inside the Gilligan clan change drastically, even the two kings were shocked. The Class 7 magical beasts that wanted to deal with Rum Guinness all changed drastically in expression. They stared at the awe-inspiring white tiger that had its wings unfolded in mid-air as shock and disbelief flooded their eyes. Is this the winged tiger god? A human form Class 7 magical beast elder growled. The pressure from the white tiger caused his soul to tremble, and the two wings on its back had basically allowed them to realize the white tiger's identity in that instant. They were all magical beasts after all, and high-ranking Class 7 magical beasts as a matter of fact. A human would probably not recognize the white tiger at first glance, but its identity was no secret if it appeared before any Class 7 magical beast, unless the white tiger had erased its presence. How is this possible? Just how is this possible? The great beast god has actually appeared once more, a Class 7 magical beast cried out. A pair of wings on its back and able to make my soul shudder. It can't be wrong. It can't be wrong. It is indeed a winged tiger god that has only appeared in the ancient times. Our great beast god has actually appeared once again. The Class 7 magical beasts all cried out emotionally. The winged tiger god's supreme status was irreplaceable among magical beasts, to the point where even the three supreme experts of the beast god continent came nowhere close to replacing it. This was because it was the indisputable god of the beast god continent, and the god in the eyes of all magical beasts. Even after countless years, its prestige had not suffered at all. As a result, the Class 7 magical beasts became emotional and excited after they confirmed the white tiger's identity. They had ceased to be threatening like before long ago. "We greet the great beast god." The magical beasts all knelt down to greet the white tiger. Their voices were filled with respect. "Elders, please rise." The speaker was Rum Guinness, who stood behind the white tiger. However, the elders ignored her. One of them glared at Rum Guinness angrily and called out furiously, "Do you still have any rights to talk to us as a traitor of the magical beasts, Rum Guinness? Our god is right here. Just wait until you face the stern judgment of the beast god." Anguish filled Rum Guinness' eyes. She slowly walked up to the white tiger's side and gently rubbed its head, placating the white tiger's anger. The white tiger did not resist. Its great presence slowly subsided, and it closed its eyes comfortably. The magical beasts all watched this scene unfolded in a dumbstruck fashion as they knelt in the air. They all became filled with shock and disbelief. With its pride and status as a beast god, how could the winged tiger god let anyone touch it like that? Yet, not only did it fail to show any signs of resistance, it even closed its eyes comfortably. The magical beasts on their knees directly began to doubt their eyes when they saw this. Rum Guinness actually has such a close relationship with the winged tiger god. Is this good or bad? How are we going to deal with Rum Guinness' betrayal this way? Similar worries appeared in the minds of the elders. "Elders, do you really believe that I, Rum Guinness, has betrayed the magical beasts? Have you never doubted the truthfulness of the Tiger King's words?" Rum Guinness said painfully. The magical beasts immediately began to stare blankly after they heard these words. They looked at each other, and one of them asked, "Rum Guinness, does that mean that there's another story to your betrayal of the Gilligan clan?" All of them focused their gazes on Rum Guinness and waited for her answer. She nodded her head and said, "There are indeed a hidden truth to this matter. The betrayal of my husband and I, our betrayal of the Gilligan clan, was completely a lie forged by the Tiger King. The Tiger King wanted to eliminate our family. You've all been deceived by the Tiger King." The magical beast elders all became surprised with what Rum Guinness had said. What? Lies forged by the Tiger King? The Tiger King wanted to eliminate you? Rum Guinness, are you sure you're not trying to trick us? Rum Guinness, may I ask if you have any evidence regarding this? The Tiger King has no ill feelings toward your couple, let alone the fact that your husband was the brother of the Tiger King. Why would he want to eliminate your family? Rum Guinness, if you don't give us a logical explanation, we won't be believing you. The elders all spoke out. Very few of them believed Rum Guinness' words. After all, the Tiger King was one of the two kings of the clan. The prestige he possessed was just too great in the eyes of the elders. Rum Guinness looked toward the white tiger beside her, and her face immediately became kind. She said slowly, "It's all because of my child, because my child is the winged tiger god." What? The winged tiger god is your child? The elders all cried out in shock and disbelief as soon as Rum Guinness finished speaking. They all glanced past the winged tiger god and Rum Guinness once again in surprise. This piece of information was just too astounding to them, in no way less surprising than an actual bolt from the blue. The shock in the elders' hearts had peaked at this moment in time. They all struggled to believe that the winged tiger god was actually Rum Guinness' child. At this moment, several dozen tremendous presences appeared in all directions. The white tiger's roar had rung through the entire mountain range and alerted all the high-class magical beasts in the area. All the Class 7 magical beasts made their way toward the group. In that instant, more than 40 individuals of various ages had gathered around Jian Chen's group. They all radiated with a great presence, all Class 7 magical beasts in human form. Yu Yu became rather nervous as soon as she became surrounded by them. However, she relaxed slightly after she saw how calm Jian Chen was as he stood beside her. After all, she did not face up against a group of humans this time, but a group of Class 7 magical beasts in the Cross Mountains that were known to be forbidden to humans. As soon as the magical beasts gathered, they all looked toward the awe-inspiring winged tiger god with no exception. Surprise and doubt flooded their eyes. It's the winged tiger god. It really is the winged tiger god, that's the winged tiger god of our magical beast race. I never thought that our beast god would finally appear once more after so many years. Very quickly, a few of the Class 7 magical beasts recognized the winged tiger god's identity and immediately cried out emotionally. They were ecstatic. However, there were other Class 7 magical beasts among them who became rather ugly in expression as well. Jian Chen glanced past all the Class 7 magical beasts nonchalantly and silently took note of their expressions. He paid particular attention to the ones who revealed rather ugly expressions once they saw the winged tiger god. He memorized them in detail. Chapter 1001, Eliminating the Tiger King. 1. I greet the great beast god. A Class 7 magical beast knelt down first in human form as he cried out emotionally. Jian Chen glanced past the magical beast, and his nonchalant gaze suddenly froze. He recognized this magical beast. It was the ape king of the spirit apes he had met many years ago at the border of the Cross Mountains. The ape king had obtained a large quantity of heavenly resources and the very precious 100-grass wine. A few other Class 7 magical beasts that viewed the winged tiger god as their god did not hesitate either. Like the ape king, they all dropped to their knees and called out loudly, "We greet the beast god." The faces of the magical beasts with rather ugly expressions changed once more after they saw so many people kneel down. In the end, they could only kneel obediently as well, and they called out loudly like the others. However, their voices lacked emotion, and were extremely calm. In the blink of an eye, all the magical beasts that had hurried over threateningly from the depths of Cross Mountains were on their knees. They only seemed to look at the winged tiger god and directly ignored Rum Guinness, Jian Chen, Yu Yu, and He Yu beside the white tiger. Jian Chen suddenly looked into a distance. Immediately, a gleam of light flashed across his eyes when he spotted a white-robed, scholarly middle-aged man flying over unhurriedly. He seemed ordinary with no presence at all, just like He Yu. He had erased his presence as well. However, Jian Chen's presence was more powerful. Under his senses, he could see through the man's strength completely despite the other party's erased presence. Second heavenly layer of Saint King, thought Jian Chen. However, he did not care too much, as experts at such a level could no longer threaten him thanks to his current strength. The man directly arrived before all the Class 7 magical beasts and looked at the winged tiger god with mixed emotions. He did not kneel down like the others and bowed instead. He said calmly, "I greet the beast god." The man was much more composed than the other Class 7 magical beasts. After he bowed to the winged tiger god, he glanced to Jian Chen's group. He could tell that Jian Chen and Yu Yu were humans, but he remained calm. He did not show any hostility. Rum Guinness's face also became mixed when she saw this man. After a slight hesitation, she bowed to the man and said, "Rum Guinness greets the Peng King." A thought flashed through Jian Chen's head when he heard how Rum Guinness referred to the man, Peng King. The Gilligan clan has two kings. One of them is the Tiger King, so does that mean the man before us is the second king of the clan? The Peng King looked toward Rum Guinness and a warm smile immediately formed on his face. "Rum Guinness, welcome back. It has been difficult for you in the past years." He knew all about the hidden truth when Rum Guinness and her husband were pursued by the Tiger King, except he was unable to prevent it or stop it. After all, Kaiser of the Beast God continent, was the instigator behind the scenes. All he could do was watch the events unfold, as the two of them suffered from the Tiger King. The Peng King is too kind. I have stopped being a member of the clan long ago. Rum Guinness' voice was rather cold. Although the Peng King did not take part in the hunt for her and her husband, she did not know where the Peng King stood. As a result, she was extremely cautious of him and even possessed some hostility. The Peng King could naturally feel how Rum Guinness treated him. If an elder was so impolite to him before, he would definitely teach her a lesson. But it was different now. Rum Guinness was the mother of the winged tiger god, so her status was drastically different from before. Even as a king of the Gilligan clan, he needed to treat her politely and would fear offending her. This was why the Peng King could only smile indifferently toward how Rum Guinness reacted, and he said nothing more. Suddenly, a tremendous presence appeared. A burly, bare-chested middle-aged man flew over quickly in a threatening manner. His face was extremely dark while his eyes were cold as dense killing intent flickered inside. Jian Chen's gaze also began to sharpen, becoming like drawn swords. He stared closely in the direction of the presence and heavy killing intent appeared in his eyes as well. He made no effort to conceal it. Despite the distance, he could tell from first glance that it was the Tiger King. This individual had come out of Cross Mountains all those years ago to hunt down Xiao Bai and had almost claimed his life. In the blink of an eye, the Tiger King arrived before everyone and stood beside the Peng King. He maintained a 50-meter distance from Jian Chen's group. Hatred surged in Rum Guinness' eyes as soon as she saw the Tiger King. She gnashed her teeth and said, "Tiger King, you've probably never thought that I'd still be alive. Today, my son and I will personally kill you and tear you to shreds to take revenge for my husband." Her voice was riddled with emotion. The Tiger King paid no attention to Rum Guinness and stared darkly at the white tiger. A gleam of light flickered through his eyes, and he thought, the growth of the winged tiger god really is terrifying. I never thought that it could reach Class 7 in such a short amount of time after being born. If it gets some more time, reaching Class 8 would be no problem for it, but he's no threat to me before he actually reaches Class 8. Afterwards, the Tiger King glanced past Jian Chen's group. He directly ignored Yu, but when he saw Jian Chen and He Yu, his eyes narrowed by an undetectable amount. He could not see through their strength. Jian Chen's presence was covered up by the Saint artifact, which was impossible to see through with the Tiger King's current abilities. As for He Yu, he was a Saint King at great perfection. He was even greater than 9th heavenly layer Saint Kings, so if he erased his presence, the Tiger King could not see through it at all. Jian Chen was only at the 3rd heavenly layer of Saint Ruler the last time I saw him. No matter how outstanding his talent is, it's impossible for him to reach a level where I can't see through his strength in these short few years. The two of them are standing toward the back, so they clearly aren't anyone important. Looks like they've hidden their presence using a special method, but they aren't very strong. Humph, they're just faking it, thought the Tiger King. He immediately relaxed, before looking toward Rum Guinness and the white tiger once again. The light in his eyes flickered. Jian Chen sneered, "Tiger King, you've probably never thought that we'd meet again so soon. Last time, you left the Cross Mountains to come find me on the Tian Yuan continent, yet this time, I've come to find you in the depths of the Cross Mountains. You heavily wounded me last time, almost making me pass away. This is an irreconcilable matter. I will be taking my revenge today." The elders of the Gilligan clan all looked up at the Tiger King after they heard these words. They were all surprised. The Gilligan clan had an agreement with the humans, which stated that any magical beast beyond Class 7 could not step outside the Cross Mountains. Otherwise, the human experts would mercilessly slaughter them. Although the Gilligan clan was the greatest force within the Cross Mountains, their true strength was only equivalent to the ancient clans among humans. They were not the opponents of the entire human race at all. The only reason they had this territory was because the beast god continent was supporting them from behind, so the world beyond the boundaries of the Cross Mountains were a forbidden zone that the elders of the clan could not trespass. However, never did they think that the Tiger King had crossed it and trespassed into the Tian Yuan continent despite the consequences. They found this unbelievable. The Tiger King became enraged when he heard these words. If it were not for Jian Chen who put his life on the line to protect the winged tiger god, the white tiger would have ended up in his hands long ago. The supreme human experts would not have been alerted, and he would not have been forced to use a secret technique to flee, cannibalizing his cultivation, which dropped from the second heavenly layer to the first. He had yet to recover even today. Humph, you dare to say such even with your limited abilities? Such impudence. You interfered with what I was doing last time. You're lucky for being able to live a little longer, but since you've trespassed my Cross Mountains today, don't think you can leave alive, the Tiger King said with gnashed teeth. He blamed Jian Chen for everything, so he felt an intense hatred for him. Tiger King, why don't you try me if you're so confident? I'd like to see how you prevent me from ever leaving the Cross Mountains again, sneered Jian Chen. Killing intent bloomed in his eyes. You arrogant brat. I'll deal with you after I deal with my family, the Tiger King said with a darkened face. Then, he looked toward Rum Guinness and said coldly, Rum Guinness, you're actually working with humans as an elder of the Gilligan clan. Your crimes cannot be forgiven, and you shall be put to death on the spot. The Tiger King suddenly appeared next to Rum Guinness as soon as he finished speaking. Surging energy condensed in his palm and he struck out. This palm strike did not target Rum Guinness, but the winged tiger god beside her. The Peng King's eyes narrowed, and he sighed gently inside. He did not plan on interfering. He did not dare to interfere, as the connected matters were just too important. It was no longer a battle between him and the Tiger King. It would directly tie into the matters of the Beast God continent if he interfered. Chapter 1002, Eliminating the Tiger King. 2. The Tiger King held nothing back with his palm strike toward the winged tiger god. It shot out with a great might that almost caused the surrounding space to shatter. However, the space suddenly froze in the next moment. The Tiger King had used his spatial force to freeze it. This firmly immobilized the white tiger and prevented it from fleeing. Although the white tiger was a winged tiger god, it was still a Class 7 magical beast after all. A huge gap existed between it and Class 8 magical beasts, so it was unable to go up against the Saint King Tiger King with its current strength. However, the reactions of the white tiger were in no way slow. It growled deeply and shot backward in the form of a white blur. It moved with lightning speed in this crucial moment. It retreated to 20 meters away. The frozen space of the Tiger King was unable to trap it. The Tiger King's attack missed. The terrifying energy explosion actually surpassed the endurance of the space there and immediately caused space to cave in. It formed a hole the size of a pot as the space around it distorted randomly. A gleam of light immediately flashed across the Tiger King's eyes when he saw the winged tiger god break free from his frozen space. However, he did not stop at all. He pushed away the empty space and arrived before the white tiger with a single step. He swung his hand and the energy of the world began to condense quickly. Then, it formed a 10-meter wide hand that grabbed at the white tiger. The huge hand enveloped a region of space and locked the white tiger out of all possibilities and directions of escape. The Tiger King had moved extremely suddenly. Coupled with his great speed, Rum Guinness and the other Class 7 magical beasts in the surroundings had just noticed him. Their faces changed instantly when they saw that the Tiger King wanted to kill the winged tiger god. How dare you, Tiger King? The winged tiger god is the publicly acknowledged god of magical beasts. You are disrespecting the beast god. Have you betrayed us magical beasts? Rum Guinness called out in panic. She spoke extremely sharply, before she lunged toward the Tiger King regardless of the danger. She tried to stop him. The Peng King floated in place as he watched everything unfold. The light in his eyes constantly flickered. He was hesitating. Many people among the elders of the Gilligan clan were confused. They did not know why the Tiger King had suddenly attacked the winged tiger god, so they all became stunned there. They had never considered the possibility of the Tiger King trying to kill the winged tiger god. Only a small portion of them knew the truth to what had happened all those years ago, and the Ape King was one of them. The Tiger King is trying to kill our god. Elders, stop him with me, the Ape King called out, as he charged towards the Tiger King first. A few elders who did not know about the truth were astounded by the Ape King's words. Many of them immediately charged toward the Tiger King despite the danger, as they wanted to stop the Tiger King from laying his hands on the winged tiger. The Tiger King was a king of the Gilligan clan and possessed great prestige among the elders, but the winged tiger god was the god of magical beasts. It stood as a great god in the eyes of those elders, worthy of the respect and support of all magical beasts. As such, these elders had chosen to stand on the side of the winged tiger god given the situation without any second thought. However, it was too late. The Tiger King's attacks were just too fast, and it was nowhere near something that the Class 7 magical beasts could block. The huge hand condensed by the Tiger King had encased the white tiger completely and it quickly tightened its grasp. It tried to crush the white tiger to death forcefully. At this moment, a devastating energy suddenly appeared. It flooded the sky, and its terrifying might and chilling presence surprised all the high-class magical beasts in the mountain range. Jian Chen suddenly appeared in this crucial moment. His left hand was around Yu Yu's waist, while a layer of dark, beautiful chaotic force covered his right. He hurled the energy toward the Tiger King's condensed hand with lightning speed. Boom! A deafening sound immediately erupted when the two supreme energies collided in midair. Terrifying residual energy rocked the surroundings and swept out in all directions in the form of a ripple. The clash between Saint Kings was undoubtedly devastating. The surrounding space would immediately distort to its limit wherever the ripple of energy passed, as if it would cave in and shatter. Clouds of dust were kicked up into the air as the ground cracked. 10 whole mountains collapsed from the residual energy. Rock slides were triggered everywhere, which caused the ground to constantly shake as they produced rumbles. Jian Chen easily dispersed the Tiger King's hand. The residual energy knocked the Tiger King back, which caused him to backpedal a few steps. Filled him with shock. All the Class 7 magical beasts that had charged up in an attempt to stop the Tiger King all came to a stop from the energy, before they retreated helplessly. Even Rum Guinness was affected. Jian Chen punched out a second time to stop the incoming energy ripples and to prevent Yu Yu from being harmed. The Peng King stood several dozen meters away unmovingly. He stared at Jian Chen in interest and his heart finally settled. He could not help but smile as he thought, looks like I've been worrying too much. The winged tiger god really does have something to count on for coming to the depths of the Cross Mountains despite knowing that the Tiger King wants to harm him. How is this possible? How can this be possible? How did you become so strong in such a short amount of time? The Tiger King cried out. Jian Chen sneered, nothing is impossible. Tiger King, today will be the day you die. With that, Jian Chen arrived before the Tiger King. He slapped toward the Tiger King's chest with a palm full of destructive chaotic force. Jian Chen did not need to resort to the Emperor armament when he fought an injured First Heavenly Layer Saint King. The Tiger King roared angrily and darkness-attributed energy surged wildly from him. His hands turned into huge tiger paws and clawed at Jian Chen's hand. Only when the claws came into contact with Jian Chen's hand did the Tiger King discover in shock that his full-powered attack could not harm Jian Chen at all. Crack! In the next moment, the sound of bones breaking rang out clearly. The Tiger King's paws had already become bent. Jian Chen's hand broke his paws when they collided. The Tiger King groaned deeply. The agony made him pale slightly. He glanced at Jian Chen in shock. Then, he immediately shot backward. He reappeared 100 meters away. Impossible, impossible. This is impossible. When I saw you last time, you were only a mere saint ruler and could not even resist before me. Only 10 years have passed, so how has your strength reached such a level? The Tiger King glanced past his broken arms and looked at Jian Chen. He became stunned as he murmured with a deep voice. He struggled to accept everything unfolding before his eyes. Chapter 1003, Eliminating the Tiger King, 3. Jian Chen stared at the shocked Tiger King coldly and sneered, "Tiger King, I'd like to see how you escape from me today. Pay for what you did all those years ago." With that, Jian Chen moved slightly and appeared before the Tiger King, crossing the several dozen meters in an instant. He struck toward the Tiger King once more with a hand that radiated with a destructive aura. The Tiger King roared at the sky and a dazzling golden light immediately coated his body. It illuminated the surroundings and was extremely blinding. The Tiger King immediately turned into a golden-furred tiger within the light. His true form was a gold-fur Tiger King. Although the species was nowhere near the level of a beast of antiquity, it was still a so-called king within tiger magical beasts. TL, the same species that killed Kendall #NeverForget, the Tiger King opened its huge mouth and produced an earth-shaking roar at Jian Chen. A ball of compressed, fist-sized darkness-attributed energy shot out from the Tiger King's mouth. It headed toward Jian Chen with lightning speed. The surroundings darkened slightly with the appearance of this ball of energy. Even the surrounding temperature seemed to plummet. Boom! Jian Chen's fist struck the ball of energy and a loud sound immediately ran out. Terrifying residual energy swept through the surroundings, which caused the sky to shake and the space to crack. The space of the Tianyuan continent was nowhere as tough as the space in the sea realm. Just saint rulers were enough to break through the space on the Tianyuan continent, so every time saint kings clashed, they would show signs of utterly destroying the surroundings. This time, the collisions of Jian Chen and the Tiger King's attacks caused the entire Cross Mountains to shake. All the mountains had cracked in the depths of the mountain range, with countless collapsed together. The terrified cries of countless magical beasts filled the air. Jian Chen resisted the dark energy with his body and suffered no injuries. On the other hand, the Tiger King became slightly weaker after he spat out the energy ball. Even at his peak condition, he was nowhere near Jian Chen's opponent, let alone now where he was still injured, and his strength was reduced. A human expert has trespassed our Cross Mountains. Get him, elders of the Gilligan clan. Chase out the human. Peng King, why aren't you helping out? Said the Tiger King in human tongue after he turned to the Peng King and the elders. His voice was hoarse, and he tried to get the entire Gilligan clan to fight Jian Chen. The Peng King stood with his arms crossed as he watched on from afar. He observed Jian Chen in interest, but he did not step forward to help anyone. He did not show any intentions of interfering either. He had directly ignored the Tiger King's words. The elders of the Gilligan clan were knocked afar by the terrifying residual energy. They were all scattered quite a distance from the location of Jian Chen and the Tiger King's battle. They all stared at Jian Chen in shock. Right now, all of them could tell that Jian Chen was a human saint king and one that the Tiger King could not beat. The elders all looked at each other as they floated in the distance. They appeared hesitant. The trespassing of a human expert in the Cross Mountains was indeed something that they could not bear with, but the person this time was just a little too terrifying. They did not dare to charge up recklessly, as that would just be charging to their deaths. Afterward, all the elders looked toward the Peng King. They decided not to interfere either as they saw the Peng King's actions. As such, they behaved as if they did not hear what the Tiger King had said. Tiger King, you even dare to plot against the god of your continent. This is heresy. I'd like to see who'll help you now, Jian Chen said coldly. He punched out again and struck the Tiger King's back. It broke and completely caved in, while the violent force knocked him down. He struck the ground heavily, the ground became covered with cracks and formed a huge crater. Jian Chen did not stop and descended. Just when the Tiger King climbed to his feet, Jian Chen kicked the Tiger King's head heavily, which knocked him into the air once more. Jian Chen could kill the Tiger King with no difficulty, but that was not what he wanted, as it would let the Tiger King off too easily. As a result, he wanted to crush the Tiger King's pride as a Class 8 magical beast. The Tiger King landed heavily 50 meters away. He shook his head as he had become rather dizzy after Jian Chen kicked him. Then, he looked toward Jian Chen viciously. He said in human tongue, "It's not that easy if you want to kill me. Jian Chen, I will make you regret the idiotic things you have done today sooner or later." Bright, blood-red light suddenly encased the Tiger King. It was extremely dazzling, and by the time it had dimmed, the Tiger King had disappeared. He had used a secret technique to flee in magical beast form. Jian Chen's expression changed slightly when he saw the Tiger King suddenly vanish. He immediately closed his eyes and expanded his presence to its limits in an attempt to locate the Tiger King. He has actually vanished. Jian Chen opened his eyes again very quickly. He became pale white, because he could not find the Tiger King within the expanse of his presence. At this moment, He Yu suddenly began to smile sarcastically. He had always been standing at the very back silently, but he broke that silence now. "I know where he ran off to." Jian Chen's face lit up when he heard this. He immediately turned to He Yu and asked, "Senior, please tell me where the Tiger King is. He can't escape." A gleam of light flickered through the Peng King's eyes. He immediately looked toward He Yu doubtfully. He Yu nodded slightly and said, "There's no need to panic, brother Jian Chen. I'll bring him over here right now." He Yu casually swung his hand and ripped open space. A space gate formed quickly. In a region of wilderness 100,000 kilometers outside the Cross Mountains, a huge tiger crawled extremely weakly on the ground with matted, bloody fur. It seemed to even lack the strength to stand up. It was the Tiger King who had just fled. "Jian Chen, you won't be able to live much longer. As soon as I recover some strength, I'll immediately report everything that has happened here to the ruler of the Beast God continent," the Tiger King muttered hoarsely with a vicious look. Suddenly, his expression changed. He stared fixedly at the space up ahead as it began to distort wildly. A space gate quickly began to form as he stared helplessly. Crap! The Tiger King became terrified. Just as he struggled to climb to his feet, a huge hand condensed from energy reached out from the space gate, grabbing him and dragging him in. Only when the Tiger King passed through the space gate did he discover that he had returned to the depths of the Cross Mountains. "You don't have the power to flee before me, so quit wasting your energy," an old voice boomed. The Tiger King turned toward the sound. The black-clothed He Yu stood beside him. The Tiger King's heart immediately turned cold. Despair permeated his heart. He knew that his conjectures were wrong. The old man behind him was a terrifyingly powerful expert. Chapter 1004, Gathering of Three Saint Emperors. "Tiger King, why don't you keep running? Why aren't you running anymore?" Jian Chen jeered at the Tiger King as he flew over from afar. The Tiger King showed no fear, even though he knew that it was almost impossible for him to avoid this disaster. He looked at Jian Chen with hatred, while his vicious gaze seemed like he had a blood feud with Jian Chen. "If I knew that this would happen today, I should have killed you immediately when I met you the first time. How else would you have been able to survive today?" The Tiger King gnashed his teeth. Regret flooded his heart. A cold light flashed across Jian Chen's eyes when he heard these words. He kicked the Tiger King's chest and blood sprayed from the latter's mouth. It's a pity that time can't run backward. You are now my captive, and your life is in my hands. You have no right or power to kill me, Jian Chen said coldly. Humph, kill or torture if you want, but if you kill me, a great disaster will fall your way as well. The Beast God continent definitely will not just stand by with human experts trespassing and acting brazenly in the territory of my Beast God continent, the Tiger King said coldly. He still did not know that Jian Chen now possessed the power to resist the experts of the Beast God continent. Savior, can you let the two of us deal with the Tiger King? The Tiger King killed my husband and even wanted to harm us all those years ago. We have an irreconcilable hatred for him. I am a magical beast as well, so if I deal with the Tiger King, even the Beast God continent can't say anything, said Rum Guinness in consideration of Jian Chen. Jian Chen nodded and said, all right then. I'll leave the Tiger King to you. Although Jian Chen did not fear the Beast God continent, Rum Guinness and the White Tigers had an intenser hatred for the Tiger King. It was more suitable for the two of them to take the Tiger King's life. Rum Guinness, you're a traitor of the magical beasts, and you want to overthrow the hierarchy? The Tiger King glared at Rum Guinness as he called out feebly. He tried very hard to maintain a dignified appearance, but it was an utter failure with his currently dejected look. Tiger King, my child is the winged tiger god. Even the rulers of the Beast continent needs to treat him politely when they meet him. Not only have you failed to respect the winged tiger god, but you even tried to harm him time after time. What do you think you're trying to do? The one who's trying to overthrow the hierarchy is you. Rum Guinness said sharply, before she slowly arrived before the Tiger King. Hatred surged in her eyes and she gnashed her teeth. She asked, Tiger King, did you ever think you would end up like today when you harmed my husband and I? Humph, snorted the Tiger King. Then, he closed his eyes and stopped talking, acting as if he was waiting for his death. Jian Chen first heavily injured him, and then he used a secret technique to flee. These actions made him suffer a great backlash and had deepened his wounds. He could not even stand up right now, much less run away. The Tiger King did not beg for his life, because he knew it would be useless. Rum Guinness looked at the Tiger King hatefully as crystal-clear tears ran down her face. She mumbled, Husband, you were killed mercilessly by your own brother back then. Today, I will be taking revenge for you. I hope you don't blame me for killing your brother. He's unworthy of being your brother. Rum Guinness slowly raised her hand. Immediately, a powerful energy surged out and she struck the Tiger King's head with lightning speed. No one stopped Rum Guinness from killing the Tiger King. The Peng King floated in the distance calmly, though his eyes were filled with some mixed feelings. They were both kings of the Gilligan clan and had quite a few years of friendship. He found it a little hard to bear watching the Tiger King die so helplessly before him. The elders in the surroundings all stared with wide eyes. The light in quite a few people's eyes constantly flickered as they hesitated. They wanted to save the Tiger King, but no one dared to do anything in the end. Bang! The Tiger King's head immediately exploded as Rum Guinness' attack landed. Bloody white matter flew in all directions. At the same time, a white ball of light emerged from the destroyed head and shot toward the distance with lightning speed. It was the soul of the Tiger King. Jian Chen sneered. With a thought, the space before him froze in an instant. It trapped and immobilized the Tiger King's soul. You should understand that any attempts to flee before me is futile, Tiger King, Jian Chen said coldly. Roar! The white tiger roared at the sky from beside Jian Chen, before it turned into a white blur and entered Jian Chen's frozen space. It bit the Tiger King's soul viciously, tearing it to shreds and making it disperse. The Tiger King's soul slowly vanished in the surroundings, and a roar filled with regret seemed to ring out vaguely. The depths of the Cross Mountains fell into silence. A Class 8 magical beast, equivalent to a human Saint King, had just disappeared from the world forever. Moreover, it was one of the kings of the Gilligan clan. This matter left all the elders dumbstruck. The Peng King stared at the Tiger King's dispersing soul blankly and sighed inside. This was how the Tiger King, someone equal to him, had died and disappeared permanently. Rum Guinness hung in the air as tears gushed down her cheeks like a fountain. Her buried desire for revenge was finally fulfilled after so many years. Husband, do you see this? Your cold-hearted brother has finally died in the hands of your wife and child. We've avenged you, Rum Guinness murmured gently, as she looked at the sky. At the same time, two burly middle-aged men stood with their hands behind their backs in an ancient mountain range far away from the Cross Mountains. They stood nonchalantly on the tallest, sword-shaped mountain, as they allowed the wind to blow wildly around them. They stood unmoving like statues. If someone else were present, they would get an illusion from time to time that these two were a part of the world. They seemed inseparable from the surroundings. At this moment, the space above a mountain 2,000 meters from them began to twist violently. It quickly formed a space gate and an evil-looking, middle-aged man in white robes emerged. The man floated in the air and looked toward the two people from afar. Only after a while did he speak slowly, Kaiser, Tiger Emperor, I never thought it was the two of you. Path Lord of the Carnal Desires, how have you been? Lenkiros asked nonchalantly. Have the two of you forgotten the agreement between my Tian Yuan continent and your beast god continent? You've trespassed the territory of the Tian Yuan continent once again, so please leave immediately. The Path Lord's voice was extremely calm and possessed no emotions whatsoever. Kaiser said, Human Saint Emperor, we'll get straight to the point. We have personally come from the Beast God continent because we want to work with you for something. A light flickered through the Path Lord's eyes when he heard this. He asked after a while of silence, what is it? Chapter 1005, Hong Lian, it regards the winged tiger god, Kaiser said slowly. He gazed mercilessly toward the Path Lord of Carnal Desires. The Path Lord's expression remained the same. He had already guessed that it would be related to the winged tiger god when Kaiser stated he wanted to work together. After some more silence and pondering, the Path Lord asked, what are the details of working together? The Tiger Emperor said, Human Saint Emperor, you're a smart person as well, so you should know why we want the winged tiger god. The winged tiger god is the god of the magical beasts, so how can we allow a human youngster to raise it as a pet? However, that youngster has two experts protecting him, and they possess origin energy treasures that protect them, which makes even Saint Emperor unable to do anything to them. As a result, I want you to help us out and keep one of them busy. Once the winged tiger god matures, it'll surpass Saint Emperor. No one can contend with it other than the greatest human expert Mo Tianyun in the ancient times. Do you really think that I'll help you and bring a calamity to my Tian Yuan continent? The Path Lord said coldly. Kaiser and Lankiros had expected the Path Lord to say this long ago. Their expressions remained calm and, Kaiser said, Human Saint Emperor, you are over-worrying. The winged tiger god will not invade your Tian Yuan continent even if it fully matures, because your continent has nothing that tempts us. Only the beast god continent is truly suitable for us magical beasts, so you don't need to worry about that. Kaiser continued, there must be something on the winged tiger god that tempts you as well. If you agree to work with us, we'll give you 10 drops of the winged tiger god's essence blood as remuneration. You should know exactly how precious its essence blood is, so I don't need to explain any further. The Path Lord's eyes immediately lit up when he heard them mention the essence blood. A sliver of greed appeared in the very depths of his eyes. Kaiser and Lankiros did not continue to speak. Instead, they stared at the Path Lord in interest as they waited silently for his reply. All right, I'll work with you. I'll keep one of them busy, the Path Lord of Carnal Desires agreed in the end after quite some hesitation. He really did need the essence blood very much, and the only way to obtain it was to work with Kaiser and the Tiger Emperor. This was the only way to keep the two experts besides the winged tiger god busy. "Ha ha ha, I hope we can work together happily," said Kaiser as he laughed aloud. He was filled with confidence now that the Path Lord had promised to aid them. Lankiros also smiled as an indiscernible sliver of excitement appeared in the depths of his eyes. He thought, "Looks like it'll not be long until the day I enter the 99th floor of the Beast God Hall and receive the Winged Tiger God's legacy. Kaiser, you really are a good helper of mine." At this moment, Kaiser and Lankiro's faces changed drastically. They revealed horrible expression in that moment, and an unsuppressible rage began to radiate from them. It caused the surrounding air to freeze. Their sudden change mildly surprised the Path Lord. He immediately became cautious and asked, "What happened?" "Someone killed the person we planted in the Cross Mountains," Lankiros growled. His face darkened to the point that it became terrifying. Kaiser gently closed his eyes and said coldly, "That brat must have done it. How dare he breaks the rules of the humans and trespass the depths of the Cross Mountains? Does he really think that we magical beasts are easy to oppress?" A dense killing intent flickered in Lankiro's eyes. He said, "We just happened to want to find him, but I never thought he would come provoking us instead. Humph, we can't let him go this time. Let's go to the Cross Mountains right away." Ruijin stood with his arms crossed and at leisure in a scorching region covered with volcanoes. He stared silently at the volcano that constantly churned magma. At this moment, the magma began to surge more and more violently. A layer of white flames shot out from the opening. They were terrifyingly hot and turned the surrounding rock into red lava and widened the volcano opening. Bang! The lava suddenly exploded and a clarion phoenix cry pierced the sky. A huge phoenix had shot out from the lava. She was coated in terrifying flames, as she circled around in the sky. Immediately, the surrounding temperature began to skyrocket and even the surroundings turned red. "Hong Lian, congratulations on successfully reaching great perfection, though you were a little slower than Heiyu," Ruijin smiled at the phoenix as he stood near the volcano. The flames that gushed out from the volcano failed to get any closer to him. The phoenix flew around 2 more times before her scorching white flames began to disperse. In the end, she transformed into a slender woman who seemed to be in her 20s, as she descended slowly. She wore a long, red dress, while her crimson hair shone like raging flames. She was extremely pretty and as enchanting as a picturesque drawing. She was the scorching divine phoenix who had left the artifact space with Ruijin and the others, Hong Lian. She was already at the peak of the 8th heavenly layer when she had first left the Saint artifact, only an inch away from the 9th. The energy of the world was much denser outside than within the artifact space, so she immediately found a perfect place to seclude herself as soon as she had come out. After so many years of cultivation, not only did she reach the 9th heavenly layer successfully, she had even surpassed it and reached great perfection. Hong Lian landed slowly next to Ruijin and said with some surprise, "Ruijin, what did you say? Heiyu has reached great perfection before me?" "Yep," smiled Ruijin. He was happy to see Hong Lian, as there were not many people who had the right to be his friends in the artifact space. There was only Heiyu and her. How is that possible? When we first broke free, Heiyu had just reached the 8th heavenly layer, so how did he reach great perfection before me? Hong Lian found this unbelievable. Heiyu did not bother to explain. With a flip of his hands, a piece of armor completely forged from blood-red plumage and an exquisite red hairpin appeared. A pearl-like white bead was attached to the red piece of armor. "Hong Lian, look at what these items are," Ruijin smiled as he held the armor and hairpin. Chapter 1006, Legacy Treasures. Hong Lian's gaze suddenly froze when Ruijin produced the crimson piece of armor. She stared blankly at it and the exquisite red hairpin. She could swear that it was the first time she had seen these two items, yet she felt a sense of familiarity toward the piece of armor and the hairpin. To her disbelief, she actually felt a weird bloodline connection to them, as if the feather mail and hairpin were items that solely belonged to her. Hong Lian stared blankly at the feather mail in Rui Jin's hands. Her eyes hazed over as she thought long and hard as to where she had seen these items, as well as why they made her feel like she was familiar with them. Suddenly, a locked memory appeared. Information from her inherited memories surged forth, which immediately allowed her to understand what these items were and why she felt so familiar with them. These are the legacy treasures of my scorching divine phoenix clan, the 9 refined godfire feather mail and the scorching godfire hairpin, Hong Lian cried out involuntarily. Disbelief flooded her face, as the scorching divine phoenix clan and the dragon clan had already vanished from the world. These two treasures had naturally vanished with the clan, so they should not have been able to reappear in the world. Yet, Rui Jin was actually holding those two exact items, which she found unbelievable. Correct. These are indeed legacy treasures of your clan, the 9 refined godfire feather mail and the scorching godfire hairpin. Hong Lian, I will give you these two items right now. Rui Jin extended his hands with the items toward her and directly passed them over. Hong Lian was still rather stunned. She just refused to believe that the items had actually appeared before her. She had basically extended hands subconsciously. Her hands trembled, as she received the items from Rui Jin. Despite this, she never looked away from them throughout the entire process. A while later, Hong Lian finally calmed down. She looked away from the items and stared at Rui Jin fixedly. Rui Jin, where did you get the legacy treasures of my clan? Did my clansmen not take them away when they vanished all those years ago? No, that's not the case. Rui Jin shook his head and continued, Hong Lian, sense it closely and see if the treasures are the same as the description in your inherited memories. Hong Lian looked at Rui Jin doubtfully, as she slowly closed her eyes. She sensed the two treasure carefully. Her eyes snapped open very quickly. They shone so brightly that they actually seemed to be able to illuminate objects, and deep shock and disbelief replaced her previous emotions. Origin energy. This is actually origin energy. How is that possible? How can origin energy exist in the legacy treasures of my clan? Hong Lian became to cry out uncontrollably once again. The shock within her had reached a maximum peak. She was born and raised within the saint artifact, but her inherited memories possessed a lot of hidden information about the world. She knew what origin energy was very well. It was something that could make saint kings salivate over. Only those who had surpassed Saint Emperor could control it. Rui Jin, just what is going on? Why does origin energy exist within the legacy treasure of my clan? This is completely different from my inherited memories. And just where did you get these two treasures from? Hong Lian stared at Rui Jin impatiently. She wanted to know the answers as soon as possible. Rui Jin did not hurry to answer. Instead, he turned slowly toward the clouds that seemed like they were on fire. He said slowly and calmly, Hong Lian, I met the winged tiger god. The winged tiger god. That young winged tiger god? Hong Lian asked curiously. No. Rui Jin shook his head and said, the winged tiger god that surpassed Saint Emperor in the ancient times. These words stunned Hong Lian, and she asked, how is that possible? So much time has passed. Has the winged tiger god not died? I don't know whether he's dead or not, but he was old a strand of a soul when I met him all those years ago. It was the winged tiger god who handed me the two legacy treasures of your clans. He also got me to pass them on to you, said Rui Jin. The clan head of every generation always used the legacy treasures and it never leaves their body. How did it end up in the hands of the winged tiger god? Hong Lian asked in confusion. Rui Jin turned around and looked at Hong Lian sternly. A bright golden light shone from him, and the legacy treasures of the dragon clan, the sacred dragon's armor and sacred dragon's sword, appeared. Even the legacy treasures of my dragon clan were with the winged tiger god, and the two items also now have this extra origin energy, making them stronger. They're far more powerful than their descriptions in the inherited memories. Moreover, He Yu also acquired a similar suit of armor and weapon. They both possess origin energy and are no weaker than our legacy weapons. The winged tiger god gifted both to him. Hong Lian was clearly stunned by these words, and she said, "Why did the winged tiger god give us these two items? He seemed to have disappeared with our two clans. And why does he know that there are still members of the Dragon clan and Phoenix clan left in this world?" Not only did the winged tiger god know that there are remaining members of the two clans, he knew even more unbelievable matters in even greater detail. "I even suspect that the winged tiger god is not dead, but hiding somewhere and observing the Tianyuan continent silently," said Rui Jin. "What did you say?" Hong Lian became astonished. This conjecture was just too astounding. "Hong Lian, I have something else to tell you. Our clansmen have not vanished. They might have gone to another realm. There's still hope for us to find them." Rui Jin's tone was in no way calm. It possessed a sliver of excitement that he struggled to hide. Are you sure?" Hong Lian also became excited. Rui Jin nodded and said, "When the winged tiger god left us these items, he said that we needed a crucial person to find our clansmen, and that person was the human youngster which the saint artifact took as a master, Jian Chen. The winged tiger god said that we need to protect Jian Chen if we want to find our clansmen. Moreover, he told us that we would never be able to see them ever again if Jian Chen died." Jian Chen. It's actually him. He's not very old, so how does the winged tiger god know someone like him? Maybe it's true that he's not dead, but secretly hiding somewhere as he observes everything unfold, Hong Lian murmured. She felt quite uneasy. Chapter 1007, Death Hunt. 1. Hong Lian, you should refine the two treasures of your clan as soon as possible. The relationship between the Tianyuan continent and the Beast God continent has been quite unpeaceful recently. The ruler of the Beast God continent has become Jian Chen's enemy because he wants the winged tiger god. Jian Chen can face danger at any moment, so we can't leave his side for too long. Although He Yu is with him, he's just one person in the end. If he comes across two saint emperors, he won't be able to save Jian Chen, said Rui Jin. Hong Lian nodded slightly. She understood just how important Jian Chen was right now. She found it rather hard to accept that she needed to protect a junior, but in order to reunite with her clansmen, she would not hesitate to pay any even greater price. Hong Lian glanced at the bead on the feather mail silently and asked, Rui Jin, what is this bead? It doesn't seem to be an item from my clan. It was gifted by the winged tiger god. It's an extremely wondrous treasure that specializes in protecting the soul. It can make the soul immune to foreign influences. It is extremely simple to refine the bead. All you need to do is drip a droplet of essence blood, and then fuse a portion of your soul into it, Rui Jin explained. Hong Lian did not say any more. She lifted up the two legacy treasures and the bead gifted by the winged tiger god and jumped into the crater of the volcano. She submerged herself in the churning magma. Rum Guinness chose a beautiful mountain to construct a grave for her dead husband in the depths of the Cross Mountains. The grave was extremely simple, with a 3-meter-tall stone gravestone and a dirt mound. She did not bury her husband in the mound. Instead, she buried a few items that her husband always carried around, as well as some pieces of furniture her husband would use when he lived in the Gilligan clan. Rum Guinness had no other choice except to bury these items, as her husband had already been dead for many years. She could not find his corpse no matter what. Husband, we've already avenged you. You can rest well in the afterlife. Rum Guinness sobbed painfully before the gravestone as tears ran down her face unceasingly. Growl. The white tiger produced a growl as well. Moreover, its voice carried some sorrow, as if it was trying to say something in its own language. Jian Chen, Yu Yu, and He Yu stood silently beside Rum Guinness, as they watched everything unfold. Jian Chen and Yu Yu both carried a sliver of sorrow and sympathy, while He Yu remained indifferent. Behind them stood the white-robed Peng King and a group of elders from the Gilligan clan. They all looked at Rum Guinness and the winged tiger god silently with mixed gazes. The Peng King told the elders everything that had happened all those years ago with the Tiger King's death, which allowed them to understand the truth behind everything. Rum Guinness had not worked with humans and betrayed the clan. Instead, the Tiger King framed her since he intended to kill the winged tiger god. Although all the elders were magical beasts, there were plenty of clever people among them. Many of them immediately connected these events to the beast god continent after they learned the truth from the Peng King. They guessed that there was definitely someone powerful on the beast god continent who had prompted the Tiger King to harm the winged tiger god. Otherwise, the Peng King would not have been so fearful either. Rum Guinness dried her tears and rubbed the white tiger's head gently. She said, "Child, let's go. The Cross Mountains are no longer a place where the two of us can stay." She turned to Jian Chen as she spoke and bowed politely toward him. "Savior, thank you for allowing us to complete our revenge. From now onward, I, Rum Guinness, am willing to work like a slave for the Savior." Jian Chen quickly helped Rum Guinness up and said, "Please don't be like that, Senior. I am very good friends with Xiao Bai. It's something that I'm supposed to do, helping a friend that is. And I also had some enmity with the Tiger King, so I just happened to assist you in your revenge this time. Please don't call me your savior, Senior. Just call me Jian Chen." "Savior, how can I do that? I faced impending death back then, and if the Savior had not taken in my child, he probably would not have been able to live until today. Also, Savior saved my life. Your kindness toward the two of us is so great that I cannot even return it with my life," Rum Guinness said from the bottom of her heart. The way Rum Guinness acted pained Jian Chen. After a slight hesitation, he said, "Senior, let's not talk about this for now and leave this place." This time, Rum Guinness did not say anything more. She traveled toward the boundary of the Cross Mountains with Jian Chen and the White Tiger. The Peng King could no longer remain silent, as he watched them gradually get further away. He said, "Rum Guinness, your child is the beast god, the winged tiger god. I hope the great beast god can stay behind and protect the Gilligan clan, as well as lead all the magical beasts in the Cross Mountains. Everyone in the Gilligan clan is willing to follow the great beast god." The Peng King dropped to one knee, as he finished his words. "We're willing to follow the great beast god." All of the elders dropped to their knees, and they all repeated what the Peng King had said. No one disagreed. "We will not be staying here. The Gilligan clan no longer has anything to do with us. I've stopped being a member of the clan long ago," Rum Guinness said without looking back. The Gilligan clan was a region of pain in her heart, and a region of despair. The Peng King immediately hesitated with that. He secretly sighed as pity filled his face. He knew that Rum Guinness was still unable to let go of the matters from all those years ago because he, the Peng King, did not interfere when the Tiger King hunted down the couple. Additionally, he failed to stand up and reveal her innocence when the Tiger King framed her. Suddenly, a gleam of light flashed across He Yu's indifferent eyes. They sharpened in that instant as he gazed at the space high up in the air. The space there began to twist violently, and a space gate quickly formed. 3 middle-aged men emerged from the space gate simultaneously. 2 of them were burly, while 1 of them were evil-looking. They were the 2 Class 9 magical beasts of the Beast God continent and the Path Lord of Carnal Desires. Kaiser and Lankiro's faces were both dark as dense killing intent flickered in their eyes. As soon as they had appeared, their cold-killing intent caused the surrounding temperatures to plummet and become bone-chilling. Chapter 1008, Death Hunt, 2. He Yu's expression immediately became extremely horrible. He had never thought that the two Saint Emperors from the Beast God continent would enter the Tian Yuan continent once again and directly arrive before them. He Yu knew that they had come with ill intentions, so he did not hesitate and immediately contacted Rui Jin with a secret technique. Otherwise, it was impossible for him to deal with the two Saint Emperors from the Beast God continent. Jian Chen's expression also drastically changed when he saw the two Saint Emperors from the Beast God continent and the Path Lord of Carnal Desires. However, he reacted relatively quickly and simultaneously let out the Saint Artifact into his palm and the Octaterra Divine Hall from his space ring. He made the Divine Hall expand quickly. "Don't resist, I'll send you all into the artifact space," Jian Chen growled. He sent Yu, the White Tiger, and Rum Guinness into the Saint Artifact as fast as he could. Then, he disappeared into the Divine Hall. A tremendous energy rippled from He Yu, and an azure suit of armor appeared on him. A machete that glowed with a silver light had also appeared in his right hand as it radiated with a terrifying pressure. These were the items he relied on the most to fend off Saint Emperors as a Saint King at great perfection. The Peng King recognized the Tiger Emperor and Kaiser at first glance. He immediately became surprised, and he dropped to one knee. "I greet the esteemed Kaiser and your Majesty the Tiger Emperor." "We greet the esteemed Kaiser and your Majesty the Tiger Emperor." All the elders dropped to one knee as well. Kaiser and the Tiger Emperor did not even look at them and directly ignored them. They glared at Jian Chen, who had fled into the Divine Hall. "First, you ignore the rules of the Gilligan clan and trespass the depths of the Cross Mountains. Then, you kill experts of my race. You cannot be forgiven, Jian Chen. I'd like to see where you flee off to this time. Don't think that hiding in that wretched Divine Hall can keep you safe. I'll break through your Divine Hall right now," growled Lankiros, before he struck the air with his palm. The energy of the world immediately began to gather at an unbelievable speed with the Tiger King's strike, before it formed a huge palm 100 meters in length. It whistled out and targeted the Octaterra Divine Hall with a devastating might. He Yu appeared before the Divine Hall with a flash. The Origin Energy armor covered his body with a hazy layer of azure light. At the same time, a sharp blade of light that was several dozen meters in length shot out from his machete. It struck the Tiger King's palm strike. He Yu's attack was in no way weaker than a strike from a Saint Emperor, because it had originated from a weapon with origin energy. The terrifying blade of light struck the palm and produced a deafening boom. Terrifying ripples of energy directly wreaked havoc in the surroundings. The surrounding space collapsed and turned it into darkness. Even the sun darkened slightly from the collision of their attacks. The entire mountain range shook violently. A large region of the range collapsed, and the terrifying residual energy knocked all the elders of the Gilligan clan flying. They could not resist at all and vomited blood. They were just too close to the energy collision, so even with their strengths as Saint Kings, they were still injured by the residual energy. The Peng King became extremely stern. He transformed into a faint blur and fled far away with unbelievable speed before the residual energy could get to him. He appeared several dozen kilometers away in the blink of an eye. The energy also knocked the Octaterra Divine Hall far away as it floated in the sky. It constantly trembled and shook as it flew, clearly affected by the energy as well. Jian Chen sat on the top floor of the Divine Hall as he poured all his strength into controlling it. He borrowed the knockback force to flee toward the outer boundaries of the Cross Mountains as fast as he could. The Cross Mountains were very close to Mercenary City. The distance that separated them were less than 200,000 kilometers. He needed to hurry there as fast as he could to save his own life, as he could already tell that the Path Lord of Carnal Desires was working with the two other experts. Even if Rui Jin was by his side, he would not be able to repel 3 Saint Emperors. I'll keep him busy. You go hunt down Jian Chen, growled Lankiros as he continued his fight with Heiyu. He kept Heiyu busy so that he could not protect Jian Chen at all. Kaiser and the Path Lord did not respond and just chased the Divine Hall silently. Kaiser directly hurled a punch at the hall. Boom! Kaiser's punch knocked the huge Divine Hall far away, and it shook violently all over. A tiny crack had appeared where Kaiser's punch had landed, and it constantly expanded. It covered a quarter of the entire hall like a spider's web. Jian Chen's expression took a change for the worse, as he controlled the Divine Hall on the very top layer. Kaiser's strength had completely exceeded his imaginations. He had never thought that just a single attack could damage the Divine Hall to such an extent. Kaiser sneered, "This is a very tough Divine Hall. I wonder how many punches it can withstand from me." As he spoke, Kaiser heavily punched the Divine Hall once more. The cracks constantly expanded and widened, they almost covered half of the hall now. Jian Chen gritted his teeth, as he controlled the Divine Hall. He had no power to resist Saint Emperors. All he could do was hurry to Mercenary City as fast as possible. Jian Chen, you can't run away this time. It'll be pointless even if that dragon returns, Kaiser icily said, and he punched the Divine Hall once more. It caused the cracks to become even denser. As his 4th punch landed, cracks had covered every inch of the Divine Hall. Boom! With the 5th punch, the entrance to the Divine Hall directly shattered. It completely disintegrated and had destroyed a large part of the structure. The 6th punch destroyed half of the structure. The majestic Divine Hall had now fallen into ruins. This is the last punch, Jian Chen. I'd like to see if your Divine Hall can withstand my 7th punch, Kaiser coldly said before he struck out. This punch was clearly much more powerful than the rest. As it flew out, it directly ripped through whatever it passed. It was strong enough to destroy the surroundings completely. Chapter 1009, Death Hunt, 3. Jian Chen's expression could not help but change, as he felt the might within Kaiser's punch. He instinctively knew that the Divine Hall would definitely be reduced to ruins completely if this attack landed. Moreover, it would possibly be irreparable damage. The Divine Hall was already heavily damaged, so it was no longer able to resist Kaiser's punch that was close to his full strength. Terrifying energy coiled around Kaiser's fist. Just this simple attack possessed an earth-shaking aura. Space became as fragile as tofu before it, ripping open easily and turning into darkness. However, just when the punch was about to strike the Divine Hall, it suddenly disappeared. Kaiser's punch missed and struck the space before him. It caused the space to tremble violently. Jian Chen had stored the Divine Hall away. He did not want it simply destroyed like this after he had obtained it through so much difficulty. Then, a golden streak of light shot out from his forehead and instantly turned into a 100-meter-tall golden tower. It hovered above his head as he flew toward Mercenary City. You sure have quite a few treasures, but it'll be difficult for you to escape death no matter how many you have, sneered Kaiser. A cold light shone from his eyes, which displayed his determined killing intent. Kaiser disappeared as soon as he finished speaking. He reappeared before Jian Chen and hurled out a simple punch at him. Kaiser's attacks were extremely simple, without any fancy tricks to it. However, every single one possessed an unbelievably great might, enough to easily annihilate the surroundings. The Saint artifact above him immediately began to fall. It stopped in front of Jian Chen. With a violent boom, Kaiser's fist landed on the Saint artifact like a lightning bolt. The powerful force directly knocked it backward, and it slammed heavily into Jian Chen who was behind it. Spurt. Jian Chen immediately vomited a mouthful of blood and shot backward along with the Saint artifact. The sound of his ribs breaking was faintly audible. The collision from the Saint artifact was comparable to a strike from a ninth heavenly layer Saint King, so Jian Chen struggled to defend against it even with his chaotic body. He became quite injured. A head-sized dent appeared on the Saint artifact after it resisted Kaiser's punch. It was clearly much tougher than the Octaterra Divine Hull. Jian Chen shot backward like a cannonball. He was directly catapulted out of the depths of the Cross Mountains and arrived in the outer boundary of the mountain range. Houston suddenly raised his head in a valley over 10,000 kilometers away from Jian Chen, as he plowed the ground. His indifferent eyes lit up in a shocking fashion as he cast his gaze into the distance. It's 2 Class 9 magical beasts from the Beast God continent. They actually entered the continent sneakily. Weird, where are Jian Chen's 2 experts that possess the origin energy items? Why do I only feel one of them? Is the other one not with him? Houston mumbled with a deep voice. He immediately became extremely ugly when he thought of this possibility. If that's the case, Jian Chen's in trouble. With that, Houston tossed aside his hoe and ripped open a space gate easily. He directly disappeared through it. Jian Chen's chaotic force had filled his body long ago, as he pushed everything that the chaotic body could provide to the maximum. He had drawn his Emperor armament as well and shot a powerful sword chi time after time at Kaiser with the Saint artifact protecting him. He knew his current attacks could not harm Saint Emperors at all, but it could slow down Kaiser temporarily at the very least. Kaiser treated the sword chi from Jian Chen as nothing. He struck out with a great might and shattered it all into pieces and even damaged the Saint artifact several times. The dents became denser and denser as the space within it trembled constantly. It seemed like an apocalypse inside. Although the Saint artifact could resist attacks from a Saint Emperor for some time, Jian Chen could not hide in it to escape the dangers, as Kaiser would be able to take it back to the Beast God continent and open it up slowly. At that time, it would not just be him, even the white tiger hidden in the artifact space would lose its life. Humph. Just what is this golden tower? There clearly isn't any origin energy, yet it can resist so many of my attacks. Kaiser could not help but become angered as Jian Chen blocked his attacks time after time. It was just humiliating for him to expend so much effort to deal with a mere Saint King. Suddenly, Kaiser opened his hand and clenched the space up ahead tightly. He said, "Freeze, space." The space around Jian Chen froze in that instant, which trapped him in place and immobilized him. He even lost control of the Saint artifact. "I'd like to see where you run off to now," Kaiser smiled viciously at Jian Chen. Then, he arrived before Jian Chen in a flash. He directly thrust his hand at Jian Chen's chest in an attempt to dig out his heart. "I never thought that a great expert of the Beast God continent would lower himself to fighting a junior. If the word made its way out, you'd probably become a laughing stock." An old voice suddenly boomed in the surroundings. 1,000 meters away, a space gate suddenly formed and a long, jet-black spike flew out. It shot toward Kaiser at an unbelievable speed, as it pierced through space. "You're looking to die." Kaiser's face darkened, and his hand that originally headed toward Jian Chen's heart curled up into a fist. He punched toward the spike. The spike was knocked away by the terrifying energy that had erupted when it reached half a meter from the fist. It shot back toward the space gate with unbelievable speed. Houston emerged from the space gate in a coarse garment and without shoes. He looked at the spike indifferently and made a slight gesture with his hand. The sharp force that propelled it immediately disappeared, and it landed obediently in Houston's hand. Kaiser looked at Houston coldly and said, "A Saint King at great perfection. However, you're not my opponent. You can't stop me. Kaiser, you're still one of the great experts of the Beast God continent after all. Isn't it just too far for you to bully a junior? And you've broken our agreement once again, entering the Tian Yuan continent," growled Houston. His complexion was very ugly. Chapter 10:10, Houston's baleful force. You have no right to govern what I do. And your junior of the human race purposely instigated this matter. He trespassed the depths of the Cross Mountains and killed an expert of my beast god continent. Do you really think that my beast god continent can be trampled on? Kaiser growled. His hand shot out once again and grabbed toward Jian Chen's heart. The frozen space left Jian Chen completely immobilized. Kaiser froze it with his abilities as a Saint Emperor, so it was not something that Jian Chen could break free from. Houston's eyes shone with a light that had never appeared before. In that moment, his eyes were like torches that were sharp and dazzling as the sun. Two beams of light seemed to shoot from his eyes, which caused the space in front of him to twist. Suddenly, a great presence erupted from his body. It shot into the sky and caused the air and clouds to churn. A black mist began to emerge from Houston's body. It blotted out the sky and suddenly plunged the bright world into darkness. It was so dark that the range of visibility was less than an arm's reach, while even the blazing sun had disappeared. This was darkness attributed Saint Force. The long, black spike in Houston's hand seemed to fuse perfectly with the pitch-black world. It shone with a barely visible light as it shot soundlessly toward Kaiser. The spike was unbelievably fast, which made it even harder to sense. A strike like this would definitely be difficult to block for an opponent with a similar strength to Houston. They would be heavily injured even if they avoided death, but it could not threaten Saint Emperors. A cold light flickered in Kaiser's eyes, as if darkness completely did not affect him. He stared fixedly at Houston as cold killing intent permeated from him without any restraint. He snorted, "You overestimate yourself. Since you want to stop me time and time again, I'll eliminate you first." Kaiser could not help but stop his hand that targeted Jian Chen's chest. Afterward, he clenched it tightly and struck out loudly. A terrifying energy immediately surged wildly from Kaiser's punch. It transformed into a dragon, as it struck the black spike with an unstoppable force. Houston's spike struck with the dragon condensed from energy. With a violent boom, Kaiser's attack blew the spike far away. Meanwhile, the dragon continued toward Houston with no reduction in force, as it seemed to roar. With the spike knocked backward, Houston produced a visible tremble. However, his face remained the same. He gently spoke, as he stared at the threatening dragon, "Shadow escape." He suddenly disappeared with these two words. It was not just his figure, as his presence had vanished as well. The dragon flew past Houston's previous location and struck a mountain behind him in the end. It produced a violent rumble, which caused the entire mountain to collapse loudly. Do you really think that I can't find you after you've fused with your surroundings? It's just small tricks. Watch how I break through your domain of darkness, Kaiser sneered disdainfully. Then, he struck out with a simple punch at the dark sky. The power that coiled around the punch was enough to shake the sky. Bang! Kaiser's punch seemed to have landed on a drum. It produced a muffled sound and immediately, the world of darkness began to violently twist. The entire region greatly shook as rays of bright light pierced in from the outside world. In the blink of an eye, all the darkness disappeared completely from the region. The scorching sun illuminated the world once more. The light of the world had returned. Houston reappeared now that his secret technique had been broken through. He hovered 1,000 meters away with a pale face. Spurt. Suddenly, Houston vomited a mouthful of blood. His face became even paler, now without any trace of blood. Kaiser's strength was just too great. He was one of the most powerful people even among Saint Emperors. His attacks were straightforward, but it possessed the might to destroy the surroundings every time he struck out. No one could withstand his attacks unless they were Saint Emperors. Even Saint Kings at great perfection were not enough. Kaiser did not give Houston any time to catch his breath. He took a step and traversed the distance between them silently and arrived before Houston. He eyed Houston coldly, before he extended his hand in the form of a claw toward Houston's chest. He wanted to dig out Houston's heart as well. "It's not that simple if you want to kill me." Houston glared at him, as the darkness attributed Saint force on him disappeared in that instant. A dense, blood-red mist erupted from him. It was as thick as sticky blood and enveloped Houston's entire body. He said deeply from within the mist, "This is the baleful force I have condensed after taking countless lives throughout my entire life. I originally thought that I would never use it again, but I never thought that I'd still be able to see its might one more time right before I pass away. Kaiser, enjoy. This is the baleful force of the Bloodsword sect. What powerful baleful force." Kaiser's expression finally changed when he saw the dense red mist. His hand that reached toward Houston forcefully stopped in midair. He was no longer willing to extend his hand any further. He immediately began to retreat rapidly without any hesitation in an attempt to get as far from Houston as possible. However, it was already too late. All the baleful force around Houston condensed into a blood-red spike that shot toward Kaiser as a red streak of light. Kaiser became extremely stern, as he faced the spike. He had not shown this level of sternness even when he had faced the Path Lord of Carnal Desires. The baleful force was a powerful energy that only existed within the Bloodsword sect. It was condensed from the Chi of slaughter and was tangible yet intangible. It specialized in harming the souls of people. It could not be blocked or parried, and there was no way to break through it. The only way out was to forcefully resist it. Kaiser was a Saint Emperor, but magical beasts were born with weaker souls than humans. They were nowhere as great as human souls. Meanwhile, Houston had condensed his baleful force throughout his life. It was so powerful that it could wipe out the souls of anyone at the same level as him, so even human Saint Emperors would suffer quite a lot before it, let alone magical beasts. Also, when baleful force injured a soul, it would become extremely difficult to heal. This injury would greatly affect any cultivation done in the future. Kaiser backpedaled consecutively as he moved extremely fast. He would travel several kilometers with every step, as he feared the baleful force very much. However, he was nowhere as fast as the baleful force, which allowed it to catch up very quickly and pierce through the center of his eyebrows. "Arg!" Kaiser cried out painfully. He no longer behaved as mightily as before. He clutched his head with both his hands in agony. The baleful force currently devoured his soul without mercy. It was far worse than the time he received the palm of severance from the Path Lord of Carnal Desires. Although the Path Lord of Carnal Desires had forced Kaiser into a horrible condition with his attacks in the battle outside the atmosphere, the attack would affect his soul, which triggered the desires and emotions hidden within his heart. On the other hand, the baleful force directly harmed his soul. The frozen space around Jianchen had shattered long ago as Kaiser fought with Houston, so Jianchen recovered his mobility. A sharp gleam of light immediately flickered through Jianchen's eyes when he saw Kaiser's behavior. The Saint artifact directly landed in his hand with a thought, and he removed the only strand of Emperor's power from inside. A devastating energy flooded the surrounding space with the power's appearance, which caused it to tremble non-stop. Jianchen carefully controlled the Emperor's power as it floated above his hand. He arrived before Kaiser in a flash and struck Kaiser's head resolutely. Chapter 10-11 Rui Jin arrives. Jianchen carefully controlled the Emperor's power as it floated above his hand. He arrived before Kaiser in a flash and struck Kaiser's head resolutely. A gleam of light flashed through the Path Lord of Carnal Desires, who was standing to one side. He stared in interest at the drop of Emperor's power in Jianchen's hand, and his expression changed slightly. He cried out inside, "It's an Emperor's power. I never thought Jianchen would actually possess some Emperor's power. It's teeming with water-attributed energy, so it must have come from a Saint Emperor of the Sea Realm." The power is enough to threaten Saint Emperors. The baleful force has injured Kaiser's soul. From the looks of his expression, he's in so much pain that he would rather be off dead. He can't bother with what's going around him at all. I wonder if this Emperor's power can heavily injure him or not. The light inside the Path Lord's eyes immediately began to flicker as he thought up to there. A gleam of extremely hidden but sharp light flickered through his eyes from time to time. Houston had also noticed the Emperor's power in Jian Chen's hand. When he saw that Jian Chen was about to push it into Kaiser's head, his eyes immediately lit up. He felt a sliver of anticipation. He Yu, who was locked in combat with Lankiros, naturally discovered the Emperor's power in Jian Chen's hand. He could not help but sneer when he saw Jian Chen's actions. Bang! With the Emperor's power in hand, Jian Chen finally slapped it forcefully into the back of Kaiser's head. It produced a bang, and immediately, a terrifying ripple of residual energy burst out and flung Jian Chen far away. Jian Chen was thrown backward and only stabilized himself after he flew several thousand kilometers. His right hand that had carried the Emperor's power also began to tremble uncontrollably, while his complexion became extremely ugly. There was some disbelief present on his face as well. When he had struck Kaiser's head just then, Jian Chen felt like he had struck a tough steel board. Not only did it fail to turn Kaiser's head into pieces as he had expected, it even failed to heavily injure him. The Emperor's power actually failed to pierce Kaiser's skull. All it has done is blow away his skin. Isn't his head just a little too tough? Jian Chen thought. He could feel that the Emperor's power had caused minimal damage to Kaiser. The toughness of Kaiser's body had far exceeded his expectation. I never thought that Kaiser's body would be so terrifying. He sure is worthy of being a species that borderlines dragons. If it were not for the fact that I had some advantage in soul attacks when I had fought him before, I probably would not have been his opponent, thought the Path Lord of Carnal Desires. He was also surprised, as he watched from afar. Arg! You impudent brat! To actually make a sneak attack on me. I'm ripping you into pieces today no matter what. Kaiser roared angrily. Although the Emperor's power did not threaten him at all, it reduced him to an even more horrible state. With Kaiser's level of pride, how could he endure being forced into such a state by a human junior that was both weaker than him in strength and status? It was basically a great humiliation to him. Suddenly, Kaiser's gaze became extremely terrifying. His face twisted viciously and became like a demon that had climbed out from hell. Just a glance at him was enough to make people shiver. Kaiser poured everything he had into suppressing the great pain in his soul, as he glared coldly at Jian Chen. He seemed to be tempted to devour Jian Chen alive. Suddenly, Kaiser disappeared. When he reappeared, he had already arrived before Jian Chen. One of his hands had completely turned into a dragon claw, as he swung it mercilessly at Jian Chen's head. At the same time, he froze the space around Jian Chen once more. This limited Jian Chen's movements and prevented him from using the Saint artifact to block the attack. Jian Chen's eyes narrowed abruptly. Kaiser's claw constantly grew larger and closer in his eyes, but he was trapped and immobilized. He could only helplessly watch on, as it rapidly approached. Suddenly, the space to their side split open in this moment of life and death. A sword that radiated with a blinding golden light and a terrifying sword chi suddenly materialized. Then, it shot toward Kaiser's claw with lightning speed. Clang! As the sword collided with the dragon claw, the sound of an earth-shaking metallic collision erupted. The sword was knocked away, but it also derailed Kaiser's claw. A tiny wound appeared on the claw and bright red blood began to flow from it. This was the blood of a Saint Emperor. Although it was only a tiny amount, it was incredibly eye-catching. Moreover, the terrifying amount of energy hidden inside could be clearly felt. Kaiser immediately became shocked when Rui Jin injured his claw, because it was the toughest part of his body. Even Saint Emperors would fail to injure his claws. It's a weapon that possesses origin energy. The sacred dragon's sword. Kaiser muttered hoarsely as he stared at the shining sword. A space gate quickly formed. Ruo Jin in golden armor stepped out with Hong Lian, who wore a crimson dress. Ruo Jin made a gesture with his hand, and the sacred dragon's sword flew over from afar as a streak of light. Then, it landed obediently in Ruo Jin's hand. Ruo Jin wielded the sword as he looked expressionlessly at Kaiser. He growled, "I never thought I'd see you, mutated earthworm, so soon. What, do you really want to go against me?" Kaiser stared viciously at Ruo Jin and gnashed his teeth and said, "You again. It's actually you again who's messing with what I'm doing. You may be a king of the Dragon Clan, but the Dragon Clan no longer exists now. It's best if you don't get in my way, or I'll kill you as well, believe it or not. Mutated earthworm, do you really think that you can kill me?" Ruo Jin said with a deep voice. His face was extremely dark. The fact that a mere mutated earthworm dared to threaten him, a dragon king, made Ruo Jin extremely furious. Kaiser no longer bothered to talk with Ruo Jin. Instead, he turned to the Path Lord of Carnal Desires and called out, "Human Saint Emperor, it's about time." A gleam of light flickered through the Path Lord's eyes. He said nothing and directly took a step forward. He crossed more than 10 kilometers to arrive before Ruo Jin. Ruo Jin's face sank when he saw the Path Lord. He growled, "Human Saint Emperor, I never thought you'd actually be working that mutated earthworm to harm the genius of your race." "You talk too much," the Path Lord said indifferently. He grabbed at the empty space. The energy of the world began to condense quickly, which he used to strike Ruo Jin. At the same time, he uttered gently, "Since you have a treasure that can protect you against my attacks of the 7 emotions and 6 desires, I'll abandon them and completely use the abilities of a Saint Emperor to fight you." Chapter 10-12, Hong Lian injured the sacred dragon's sword danced with his arms, as he wielded it. It immediately stabbed out toward the Path Lord of Carnal Desires with a terrifying presence, and the sword radiated brightly with golden light. Boom! The sword collided violently with the surging energy from the Path Lord of Carnal Desires in mid-air and immediately produced a deafening sound. Terrifying residual energy swept out, which caused the mountains below to collapse one after the other. The entire Cross Mountains turned into a mess, where a large number of weaker magical beasts died due to the collision between Ruo Jin and the Path Lord's attacks. Their clash also shattered the frozen space around Jianchen. As soon as Jianchen regained his mobility, he had to face the residual energy. The energy knocked him away like a kite with a broken string. "Let's fight in outer space, or the life on this continent will suffer," the Path Lord said. With that, he shot into the sky and headed directly for outer space. Ruo Jin turned to Hong Lian and growled, "The human Saint Emperor's attacks of 7 emotions and 6 desires target the soul. They can affect a person's mind unknowingly. You still haven't fully refined that protective bead, so only I can keep him busy. You stay here and protect Jianchen." Hong Lian nodded sternly. White flames radiated from her body and enveloped her completely. Immediately, the terrifying heat spread into the surroundings and caused the temperature to skyrocket. It reached a terrifying level very quickly, as if even the air was burning. Through the white flames, one could vaguely see that Hong Lian had already equipped the feather mail completely made out of plumage. It was a legacy treasure of her divine Phoenix clan, the 9 refined Godfire feather mail. The strengthening of origin energy had increased the defense of the treasure. It could withstand attacks from Saint Emperors and not suffer any damage. Hong Lian was only a Saint King at great perfection. It could be said that someone with this level of strength could not even flee before a Saint Emperor. However, she could contend with Saint Emperors as she possessed the offensive and defensive treasures of her clan. Origin energy. It's actually origin energy again, said Kaiser with his deep voice, as he stared at the Hong Lian wrapped in white flames in interest. The muscles on his face constantly twitched and twisted, perhaps due to the fact that he had to suppress the pain of his soul with everything he had. He seemed extremely vicious. Kaiser looked at Hong Lian as the light in his eyes flickered. He growled, "Little Phoenix, I won't make it hard for you considering that you're a magical beast as well. It's best if you don't interfere with my matters." With that, Kaiser tried to travel around Hong Lian in the form of a flash, as he attempted to chase Jian Chen. However, the white flames around Hong Lian suddenly began to churn violently just as Kaiser passed by her. It turned into a huge white phoenix in that instant, which swallowed Kaiser in roaring flames. "Little Phoenix, don't blame me for not going easy on you since you have no idea what's good for you." Tyrant Dragon's Punch. Kaiser called out angrily from within the white flames. With a great boom, Kaiser destroyed the phoenix condensed from the white flames with a single punch. The phoenix immediately collapsed and turned into a cloud of fire in the sky. The terrifying temperature caused the space to twist. Hong Lian floated sternly in the sky. Her crimson hair danced in the wild wind. Suddenly, she opened her arms and cried out, "White cleansing flames, return." A mysterious force seemed to lead away the white flames after Kaiser scattered them with his punch. The flames gathered toward Hong Lian from all directions. Blazing the void, a refinement of flames. Hong Lian called out. She quickly compressed all the white flames in her surrounding into a fist-sized ball. Then, it exploded loudly and rapidly expanded in all directions. It formed a ball of flames 10 kilometers across in the end. White flames filled the entire ball. It was like a sea of flames, and it was so hot that it seemed to be able to scorch anything and everything. Kaiser stood proudly in the sea of flames. A powerful layer of energy had condensed around him to protect himself from the flames. Although the white fire was terrifying, it clearly posed no threat to Kaiser as a Saint Emperor. Hong Lian also appeared in the sea of flames. The crimson feather mail was eye-catching in the space of white flames. "Little Phoenix, you're not my opponent. If you're sensible, then back off quickly," Kaiser said coldly as he eyed Hong Lian. The origin energy feather mail protected her, so he could not harm her at all. As a result, Kaiser did not want to bother with Hong Lian anymore. The refinement of flames may not be able to harm you, but it can exhaust your energy unceasingly, Hong Lian said calmly. She slowly raised her hand as a flame-red hairpin appeared bit by bit. Immediately, a mysterious and powerful energy began to radiate from it. Origin energy again. God damn it, why do you people all have so many items with origin energy? Kaiser's expression changed slightly. Swish. The hairpin in Hong Lian's hand shot toward Kaiser as a flash. Kaiser bellowed out, and his right hand became a powerful dragon's claw in that moment. He swung it toward the hairpin. Ding! With a metallic ring, Kaiser's claw actually knocked the hairpin away, while he remained unscathed. Kaiser's eyes lit up. He thought, this item with origin energy is far weaker than the sacred dragon sword of the Dragon Clan. Excitement sprouted within Kaiser. His fear of Hong Lian had already decreased significantly. He charged toward Hong Lian, as his right hand swept toward her in the form of a dragon's claw. Hong Lian could not dodge the attack at all with her strength as a Saint King at great perfection, so the claw struck her feather mail heavily. The feather mail sustained no damage, but a powerful force traveled through its defense and entered Hong Lian's body. Spurt. Hong Lian paled, and a mouthful of blood sprayed out. The blow knocked her entire body backward. Ha 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 ha, I never thought that your legacy treasure would be far weaker than the two others. I'd like to see how you fight against me now, said Kaiser, as he laughed aloud. Hong Lian became even sterner. She had just obtained the feather mail, and as time was too tight, she had failed to completely refine the defensive treasure before she hurried over. This prevented her from using the maximum power of the two treasures. Chapter 10:13, Strength that Surpasses Saint Emperor. 1. Hong Lian gritted her teeth when she heard Kaiser's arrogant words. Her eyes became filled with determination. Jian Chen was a stranger to her, but she needed to protect him no matter what. She needed to this in order to see her clansmen that had disappeared. She was even willing to accept an outcome of being heavily injured. The scorching god fire hairpin that Kaiser had knocked away returned to her hand under her control. Her hands constantly danced about before her, she formed complicated hand seals one after another in a blur. At the same time, she called out, "Flaming Comet." The hairpin immediately burst into roaring flames, and it rapidly expanded from its original size of a palm's width. It became 10 meters long in the blink of an eye, as the flames roared on its surface. Whoosh! The huge hairpin transformed into a streak of red light, as it flew toward Kaiser with terrifying ripples of energy. Its speed was unbelievable. "Little Phoenix, you're not my opponent. Do not take other people's kindness for granted," Kaiser called out. Suddenly, his right arm struck out again in the form of a dragon's claw, and he knocked away the hairpin once more. Afterward, he no longer bothered with Hong Lian and went straight for Jian Chen. Jian Chen had already disappeared from his field of vision and was now very far away from the Cross Mountains. He rapidly drew closer to Mercenary City, yet Kaiser could still precisely sense his location. He thought, "I can't let Jian Chen reach Mercenary City no matter what, or it'll be troublesome. Your opponent is me. If you want to deal with Jian Chen, get through me first," Hong Lian said coldly. She controlled the hairpin to attack Kaiser time and time again in order to obstruct him. Although the hairpin possessed origin energy, Hong Lian had yet to refine it completely. As such, she could not use all of its power. This was why she could not pose too great of a threat to Kaiser and was only able to keep him busy and prevent him from reaching Jian Chen. Intense fury surged inside Kaiser after Hong Lian blocked him time after time. He called out, "Since you have no idea what would be most beneficial for you, let me wipe out your soul first." Tremendous energy coiled around Kaiser's claw, and he directly knocked the hairpin away with a single strike. Afterward, he reappeared several thousand meters away in front of Hong Lian with a slight movement and viciously clawed toward her chest. Screech! As his sharp claws scraped across feather mail, an ear-piercing sound rang out. Although his attack could not destroy the armor, Hong Lian could not resist the attack, as she had not fully refined the feather mail. A great force immediately passed through the feather mail's defense and into Hong Lian. Spurt! Hong Lian vomited another mouthful of blood and Kaiser dispersed the roaring flames around her. Killing intent flooded Kaiser's eyes, and he chased up to Hong Lian. He formed a fist with his claws and bellowed, "Tyrant Dragon's Punch." Bang! Kaiser's devastating fist landed on Hong Lian, which immediately caused her to vomit blood yet again. Her face paled, while her feather mail almost fell off her body. Tyrant Dragon's Punch. Tyrant Dragon's Punch. Tyrant Dragon's Punch. Kaiser pursued Hong Lian, as he rained her with attacks. 8 punches landed on Hong Lian, and the power was so great that even the sky shook. After Kaiser struck her with a rain of fierce attacks, Hong Lian's became presence extremely weak. Her eyes were now closed, and she was now taking her last gasps of air. She seemed to be almost dead. However, at this moment, a crimson flame shot out from within Hong Lian and enveloped her body completely as it blazed. A clear phoenix's cry rang out from within the flames as they constantly churned. The image of a divine phoenix with its head up, as it called at the sky appeared behind. It seemed extraordinary. This is the innate ability of the divine phoenix clan. Rebirth of fire. Kaiser became ugly when he saw this. The reason he was unwilling to deal with Hong Lian before was because of this innate ability present within the members of the Divine Phoenix clan. They could immediately return to their peak condition through a baptism of flames when they died, which made them extremely hard to kill and almost immortal. The crimson flames dispersed very quickly and revealed the elegant Hong Lian. A tremendous presence radiated from her, and it was much more powerful than before. All of Hong Lian's injuries had been healed after she underwent rebirth. She had returned to her peak condition, and her strength had even increased. The innate ability of the Divine Phoenixes could be used a total of 9 times. The user would grow stronger after each use, and after all 9 times, their strength would have increased by several folds. However, the increase was only temporary, so it was impossible to stay like that permanently. "You can't kill me," said Hong Lian calmly, as she nonchalantly looked at Kaiser. A sharp light flickered in Kaiser's eyes. He sneered, "If you were a Class 9 Phoenix, even one that has just broken through to Class 9, would not be your opponent with your innate ability. But it's a pity that you're only Class 8. You're not my opponent even if you undergo the 9th rebirth." With that, Kaiser charged toward Hong Lian. He struck out as hard as he could and heavily injured her once again and made her undergo a 2nd rebirth. "I'll kill you every time you rebirth," said Kaiser with gnashed teeth. He killed Hong Lian once more with his strength as a Saint Emperor. Hong Lian's gaze remained extremely calm throughout. Her strength would increase a little with every rebirth. Soon, she had entered the 3rd rebirth. Suddenly, an uncomfortable thought appeared in Kaiser when he noticed Hong Lian's calm gaze. He thought, it said that the rebirth of the Divine Phoenix clan can be used 9 times. Will she be dead after those 9 times or what? "I can't mess with you any longer," thought Kaiser, as a light flickered through his eyes. He made up his mind. He struck out a few times with full power to heavily injure Hong Lian, who had rebirthed 3 times. Then, he no longer stayed put. He fused with the surrounding space and turned into a blur as he traveled in the direction that Jian Chen had disappeared off to. He vanished in the blink of an eye. Hong Lian was still undergoing the process of her 4th rebirth, so she could not obstruct him at all. She could no longer see Kaiser after she had completed the process. Hong Lian's expression changed slightly and without any hesitation, she turned into a red streak of light in pursuit. Houston currently carried Jian Chen. Houston was a Saint King at great perfection, so his comprehension of the laws of space was far beyond Jian Chen's. As a result, he moved extremely quickly and covered several tens of thousand kilometers with Jian Chen in that short amount of time. They grew nearer and nearer to Mercenary City. "Jian Chen, you can't escape," Kaiser roared out angrily from behind. He was catching up with a speed several times faster than Houston. "Crap." Houston's expression changed and darkness attributed Saint force poured out from his body. His speed immediately skyrocketed, as he traveled with a secret technique. However, he was still slower than Kaiser. Kaiser caught up very soon, and he directly stabbed his claws at Jian Chen's back. However, a white streak of light shot over with unbelievable speed at this very moment. It shot past Jian Chen's side and struck Kaiser's claws with great precision. "Arg!" Immediately, Kaiser shrieked out. His claws that were strong enough to repel the sacred dragon's sword was as weak as tofu before the streak of white light. It shot through his claws and bore a hole. Origin energy. It's actually origin energy. This is strength that surpasses Saint Emperor. Kaiser became absolutely terrified. Chapter 1014, Strength that surpasses Saint Emperor, 2, Origin energy. It's actually origin energy. This is strength that surpasses Saint Emperor. Kaiser became absolutely terrified. He felt life-threatening danger for the first time in quite a while from that ordinary-looking streak of white light. Kaiser no longer bothered with Jian Chen, who was only inches away. He also seemed to forget the intense pain from his arm. He looked in the direction where the white light had shot over with an extremely stern expression. Dread filled his eyes. Although he was so powerful that he even placed among the strongest within Saint Emperors, Kaiser knew that he was no stronger than a kid before an expert that had surpassed Saint Emperor. This was because they would be an expert of a completely different realm. The power they used would not be the saint force that ordinary people used, but the origin energy that was on a higher level. May I ask which expert is attacking me from the shadows? Can you please show yourself, growled Kaiser. He suppressed the shock within him and looked around cautiously. At the same time, a layer of ink-black scales appeared on his body. It covered every inch of his skin, and even his body began to bulge at a visible rate. He very quickly became a 10-meter-tall monster. He maintained a human head, but his limbs had already turned into sharp claws, while 13 jagged spikes protruded from his back. Each spike was around 3 meters in length and they glistened with cold light. Kaiser had become half human, half dragon. This was his most powerful state. Jian Chen and Houston both forgot to flee. They hung in the air in shock as Kaiser's words "surpasses Saint Emperor" constantly boomed through their heads. Their hearts churned, and they were no longer able to stay calm. Bad. You're a bad person. You bullied Xiaoling's big brother, making him like this. Xiaoling will definitely teach you a solid lesson for big brother. At this moment, an immature girl's voice suddenly rang out. A white-dressed girl with 2 pigtails, who seemed like she was 11 or 12 years old, silently appeared beside Jian Chen. She faced Kaiser angrily. This was the first time Xiaoling had appeared without hiding herself, so Kaiser and Houston immediately noticed her. However, they both became stunned at the same time when they noticed it was such a young girl, but they returned to their senses very quickly. Deep shock and disbelief immediately flooded their hearts, as they did not sense when she had appeared even with their strength. Xiaoling, it's you. You've actually left Mercenary City. Jian Chen stared at Xiaoling in surprise. He immediately understood she was the expert that had surpassed Saint Emperor and had attacked Kaiser earlier. Xiaoling's anger immediately subsided substantially when she heard Jian Chen's voice. She turned around and looked at him in concern. Big brother, Xiaoling can't just watch you being bullied by this big bad person. If Xiaoling did nothing, that big bad person would have killed big brother. Master forbid Xiaoling from leaving the city all those years ago, but to save big brother, Xiaoling will stop caring for master. Kaiser heard every single word from Xiaoling. A gleam of light immediately flashed across his eyes, and he looked toward her in doubt. He cried out, "Are you the barrier spirit of Mercenary City? I never thought that the barrier spirit would leave the protective barrier." Looks like the rumors aren't completely true, Houston also cried out when he saw the childlike Xiaoling. In truth, Xiaoling was a spirit that the earth gave birth to. She was not some spirit of the barrier. She could just control the power of the barrier in Mercenary City. Years ago, the city lord Mo Tianyun had tasked her with protecting and suppressing the seal underneath the city, so she had never left there even after so many years. This was why people misjudged her as a spirit that was born from the barrier. They assumed that she was connected to the barrier and could never leave Mercenary City. Xiaoling's expression changed when she heard Kaiser's voice. She glared at Kaiser with her naive eyes and said angrily, "You bad person. You just bullied big brother. Xiaoling will teach you a good lesson for big brother." As she spoke, Xiaoling casually swung her hand and a streak of white light suddenly appeared. It shot toward Kaiser with lightning speed. This was the origin energy that only those who had surpassed Saint Emperor could control. It did not have any earth-shaking presence or aura when it shot from Xiaoling's hands, nor did it have any terrifying ripples of energy. Only a mysterious and profound presence circulated within it. Origin energy was a completely new power. It surpassed the understandings of the people from the Tianyuan continent. They could not sense its power and terror from how it looked like. Although it was only a careless wave of her hand, the attack from Xiaoling made Kaiser feel like he could not avoid it no matter what action he took. As such, he forcefully received the attack head-on. Kaiser's powerful body became as weak as tofu before the origin energy. The origin energy directly disintegrated his scales upon contact and turned him into a bloody mess. Arg! Kaiser shrieked in agony. The injury from the origin energy was nowhere as simple as it seemed. The pain was so great that even a Saint Emperor like him could not bear with. Is this origin energy? Thought Jian Chen as curiosity flooded his eyes. He had watched the white light strike Kaiser. He could clearly feel a mysterious yet profound presence from it. There's clearly some difference between the origin energy from Xiaoling and the weapons and armor with Rui Jin and the others. I can feel that Xiaoling's origin energy is most pure, without any impurities. Meanwhile, the origin energy on Rui Jin and the others' items also possess a great power that originates from this world, Jian Chen thought. Origin energy. This is origin energy. What pure origin energy! At the same time, the Path Lord of Carnal Desires, Lankiros, Heiyu, and Rui Jin also sensed the appearance of the power. They immediately became shocked and stopped fighting. Then, they shot toward Xiaoling's location like lightning bolts. Chapter 10-15. The seal loosens. Kaiser painfully clutched the wound on him in half-human, half-dragon form. He could feel the flesh around the area that the origin energy struck disappear at a visible rate, which caused the wound to rapidly enlarge. The agonizing pain tortured his nerves time and time again and caused all his muscles to convulse. The origin energy seemed simple and possessed no earth-shaking presence, but its power was indescribably terrifying. The energy seemed to be able to eat away everything once struck, able to turn everything to dust. Jian Chen and Houston stared blankly as the wound rapidly increased in size. Their hearts churned, as they witnessed the power of the origin energy. They had never imagined that a powerful Saint Emperor would be so weak before origin energy. Arg! Suddenly, Kaiser roared out angrily. A tremendous energy surged out unceasingly from his body like a flood. In this moment, Kaiser was using everything he had to stop the residual origin energy within him. He wanted to nullify it. The disturbance from a Saint Emperor using everything they had would be doubtlessly earth-shaking. Before the supreme power, all the space in a radius of several hundred meters began to twist constantly as black spatial cracks formed everywhere. Moreover, the ground below Kaiser rapidly sank. The powerful energy forcefully pressed it down. The surroundings were dark. Kaiser's power was enough to cause the world to lose its color, while the energy of the world and world force in the surrounding hundreds of kilometers was affected as well. It became violent, no longer as peaceful as its normal state. All the experts of protector clans in their independent spaces scattered across the continent stepped out. They sternly looked in the direction of Kaiser. The eyes of the person with the greatest seniority of the Zhu branch in the Changyang clan, Changyang Zhu Shao, lit up and glowed like torches. He fixedly gazed into the distance and growled, "Only Saint Emperors can cause such a vast disturbance. The Saint Emperors of the Beast God continent have trespassed our continent once again. Saint Emperors are now invincible existences in the world. Even with the two continents in perspective, there are only 4 Saint Emperors, yet the magical beast Saint Emperor clearly is using his full strength to make such a disturbance. That's weird. Who's so powerful that forced the Saint Emperor into such a state?" said a great elder in thought from beside Changyang Zhu Shao. Shock filled his face. The Saint Emperor of the magical beasts must have come to the Tian Yuan continent for the winged tiger god. The winged tiger god is with Jian Chen, while Jian Chen has the protection from the 2 experts with the origin energy items. Have they begun fighting with the Saint Emperor? It doesn't matter what's happening. Since they've begun fighting on our Tian Yuan continent, we can't just stand by. Let's go see first, Chongyang Qingyun said with a deep voice. Afterward, he casually waved his hand, and the space before him immediately ripped open. He wanted to construct a space gate. However, the ripped space trembled violently, before it slowly closed up once more. He had failed to create a space gate. Chongyang Qingyun furrowed his brows. Their fight is too intense. It has broken the balance of space. I actually can't construct a space gate. Let's designate a space gate several tens of thousands of kilometers away from them since we can't set up one right there. We'll fly over afterward, suggested a great elder. Afterward, the great elders all left through the new space gate. They did exactly as one of them suggested and arrived a distance from Jian Chen's location. Then, they flew over. At the same time, the 9 other protector clans, a few ancestors of ancient clans, and some saint kings of various other organizations hurried in the direction that the battle had erupted. Kaiser raised all the energy within him to contend against the origin energy, but he could not stop its havoc. In the end, his wounds only stopped worsening after the origin energy was completely consumed, as it did not have a constant force. Currently, Kaiser's face was moist with sweat, and he was in a horrible shape. He was no longer as awe-inspiring as before. A half-meter wide hole stood out like a sore thumb in his 10-meter-tall, dragon-like body. It was chilling. For tremendous presences flew over like streaks of lightning from afar. Simultaneously, He Yu, Rui Jin, Hong Lian, and the Tiger Emperor arrived from the same direction. The Tiger Emperor stood beside Kaiser while He Yu, Rui Jin, and Hong Lian immediately stood before Jian Chen. They all stared at the hole in Kaiser's body with shock. I felt a pure origin energy before. Kaiser, who made you injured like this? Lankiros growled. Still badly shaken, Kaiser stared at Xiao Ling and said, "It's that girl. I never thought that she's actually the barrier spirit of Mercenary City." What? She's the barrier spirit of Mercenary City. Lankrios cried out uncontrollably in his surprise, and he immediately looked toward Xiao Ling. Lankiros immediately became intrigued when he discovered that Xiao Ling only seemed to be a young girl. He had only read about the barrier spirit of Mercenary City in some ancient records stored within the Beast God Hall, which previous magical beasts left behind. This was the first time the barrier spirit revealed its true form. He just never thought that the barrier spirit would be a young girl. Didn't the record say that the barrier spirit cannot leave Mercenary City? How has she left Mercenary City right now? Lankiros cried out with his deep voice. Doubt filled him. Rui Jin, He Yu, and Hong Lian all stared unblinkingly at Xiao Ling. They all felt shocked and they thought about the purity of the origin energy that had come from the small girl. They all knew that only those beyond Saint Emperor could control this power. The young girl before them had actually surpassed Saint Emperor. Xiao Ling paid no attention to everyone's shocked gazes. She stared angrily at Lankiros and Kaiser. You both bullied Big Brother. You're all bad. Xiao Ling must teach you a difficult lesson for Big Brother. Xiao Ling swung her hand once more with that and shot 2 strands of origin energy toward them. The expressions of the 2 Saint Emperors changed drastically when they faced this seemingly ordinary origin energy. However, a feeling of being unable to dodge appeared in both their heads, as if the origin energy had locked tightly onto their presences. It was to the point where they would be struck no matter where they ran off to. Since I can't dodge it, I'll face it head-on. Similar thoughts flashed through their heads. They gritted their teeth and roared out at the same time. Terrifying ripples of energy began to surge from their bodies. Then, they struck the incoming origin energy as hard as they could. However, origin energy was not something that Saint Emperors could block. It passed through their attacks like a hot knife through butter, before it directly shot through their bodies. Arg! Both the Tiger King and Kaiser immediately shrieked out miserably. The origin energy caused wounds that began to expand rapidly at a visible rate as their flesh and blood disappeared bit by bit. Suddenly, Xiaoling at a distant region of space said angrily, "Humph, do you really think that Xiaoling can't see you just because you're hiding? You're even worse than the two of them to actually work with them and harm Big Brother together. Xiaoling must teach you a hard lesson this time. It won't be as easy as the times before." With that, another strand of origin energy shot out from Xiaoling's hand, as it struck the empty space with lightning speed. Arg! Immediately, another miserable cry rang out. Suddenly, the Path Lord of Carnal Desires appeared, with a fist-sized hole on his chest. The origin energy had punched a hole through him and the wound constantly expanded. "As long as your souls are uninjured, you won't die. Humph, Xiaoling will capture you all for Big Brother to deal with after Xiaoling has taught you all a lesson." "Big Brother will be very happy," said Xiaoling, before she sent 3 more strands of origin force toward the 3 Saint Emperors. It added another hole to their bodies. "Let's go!" Lankiros roared angrily at Kaiser. A mist of blood sprayed out from his body, and when it dispersed, he had disappeared. With the Tiger King gone, Kaiser and the Path Lord of Carnal Desires also used fleeing techniques. They instantly disappeared after they paid quite a heavy price. Xiaoling stood with her hands on her hips, as she said unhappily, "With me here, it doesn't matter where you run off to. Watch as Xiaoling captures you 3 bad people." Just as Xiaoling wanted to do something, Mercenary City violently trembled. The entire city that was several kilometers away shook violently, as if it was amidst some great earthquake. Huge cracks formed on the ground of the city. Xiaoling's naive, pure face changed abruptly. She cried out involuntarily, "Oh no, that's bad. A very, very scary expert is attacking the seal." Xiaoling no longer bothered with the fleeing trio and disappeared before she had even finished speaking. She had reappeared in the depths below Mercenary City. Hidden below Mercenary City was a huge seal. There were extremely few people who knew of its existence. For most of history, there was only Xiaoling, other than Mo Tianyun, who had cast down the seal all those years ago. Mo Tianyun had sealed the entry to the world of Forsaken Saints there. The single seal had prevented experts of that world from reaching the Tianyuan continent, which created so many years of peace of the continent. Chapter 10:16. A shocking expert and extremely special seal locked up the pathway between the world of Forsaken Saints and the Tianyuan continent. Streaks of arm-thick white lights formed the seal. The lights crisscrossed together and sat quietly in the ground like a spiderweb. It gave off an extremely profound presence. The seal was actually completely composed of origin energy. A huge, pitch-black pit existed beneath the seal. It was several thousands of meters across and completely black inside. Nothing could be seen. It was like the gates of hell and gave people a spooky, hair-raising feeling. At this moment, the space within the pit began to violently distort. A strand of extremely powerful sword chi broke through the layers of darkness and appeared. It struck the seal with lightning speed. Boom! The seal immediately violently shook after the huge sword chi struck it. Powerful ripples of residual energy shook up the underground, and even affected Mercenary City above. The entire city wildly quaked and shocked countless people inside it. The sword chi teemed with pure origin energy. It did not disperse immediately after it collided with the seal. Instead, it charged onward at the web-like seal like an enraged bull. It caused the seal to stretch into a cone shape. Sob, the layer of the seal master set down all those years ago has broken now. Only this layer remains. Sob, it's all Xiaoling's fault. It's all because Xiaoling didn't listen to Master's orders and left Mercenary City. Otherwise, the layer wouldn't have been broken. Xiaoling sobbed, as she appeared before the stretched seal. She was like a child who had done something wrong right now. Worry, fear, and deep regret filled her. The seal over there has been broken. This seal can't break no matter what, or the city master built after so much effort will be gone. If the city is gone, master will definitely be angry, Xiaoling mumbled to herself, as she choked back her tears. She gently pressed against the remaining seal. In that moment, the vast energy gathered below Mercenary City began to surge quickly and flowed unceasingly toward the seal like the violent tide. In the end, the seal consumed it all. The seal immediately began to glow with a bright light after it absorbed the vast energy, which allowed it to constantly strengthen. Break! At the same time, a wispy voice rang out from the dark pit below the seal. It was impossible to tell whether it was male or female. The voice seemed to be filled with charm, as it resounded from beneath the ground. The sword chi stuck to the seal immediately exploded with a dazzling light. Strands of sword chi powerful enough to shake the world erupted from within and attacked the seal even more violently than before. It resisted the reinforced seal and actually became stuck in a stalemate. Oof, what a powerful person! Xiaoling could not help but call out. A sliver of worry flooded her face and strands of pure origin energy began to surge out from her body. It poured into seal unceasingly to repel the terrifying sword chi. The seal finally broke the stalemate and suppressed the sword chi with Xiaoling's support of origin energy. It slowly receded to its previous location. Seal breaker. The wispy voice rang out in the pitch-black hole once more, and a 1.2-meter-long sword chi shot through the darkness with an earth-shaking presence. It struck the web-like seal with lightning speed. The collision of the sword and the seal did not produce a great sound as expected. It gave people the illusion that it was weaker than it seemed, as if the earth-shaking sword was only a hollow cover. However, the dazzling white light of the seal quickly began to darken in the next moment. The final obstacle that blocked the world of Forsaken Saints showed some signs of breaking. My God, oh no! What is this weird power? It actually possesses a great destructive effect on Master's seal, Xiaoling cried out. She immediately became nervous, as she poured even more surging origin energy into the seal, which made it strengthen rapidly. At the same time, the energy gathered underneath Mercenary City began to surge toward the seal at an even faster rate. Xiaoling had only gathered all this energy after so many years and normally used it to support the seal. Xiaoling could no longer bother with the consumption of the energy with the current danger. The signs of breaking finally stabilized under Xiaoling's full support. It began to recover as fast as it could while it resisted the mysterious experts from the pit. The sword chi and sword pushed at the seal for a while more. In the end, the sword chi completely dispersed as it ran out of energy, while the sword also turned around and disappeared back into the dark pit with a clear resonance. Xiaoling immediately produced a sigh of relief when she saw that the expert of the world of Forsaken Saints had finally given up on breaking through the seal. Signs of exhaustion appeared on her face. It had only been less than 20 minutes, yet it was like a death battle with an expert of the same level for 3 days and 3 nights to Xiaoling. Xiaoling patted her chest and looked into the pit with some lingering fear. She mumbled, so scary, so strong. The 2 attacks must have come from the same person. If I hadn't made it in time, Master's seal definitely would not have been able to resist a single attack from that person. Suddenly, the space in the pit twisted. One could vaguely see a figure inside the darkness. The blurry person possessed a presence that allowed them to look down on everything. Xiaoling possessed great strength, but her mind was no older than a child's after all. She immediately clutched her mouth when she saw that and involuntarily took a few steps back. She became rather timid. This seal can't stop me. The day I complete my seal breaker will be the day where this seal will disappear, and that day isn't far away. A wispy voice rang out from the darkness. Although it was extremely cold and emotionless, it was filled with confidence. The figure slowly vanished with that. The ground below Mercenary City became peaceful once again. Xiaoling stared at the patch of darkness blankly, as if it was the gates of hell. A while later, she began to cry painfully, sob, "Master, where are you? Come back quick, Xiaoling is so scared." A majestic, snow-white divine hall stood silently in the snowy land of the Arctic. A person completely clad in silver-white armor currently sat in the center of a room filled with cold air. The only part of her visible were her closed eyes. At this moment, her eyes slowly opened. A cold voice filled with surprise echoed through the quiet room. What a shocking genius! Not only has he reached such a high level of cultivation in 800 years, but he has even created that special battle skill made for breaking seals. It looks like you'll be breaking through that seal soon. I've observed you for 800 years. I wonder how great your future achievements will be. I really do look forward to it. Sigh, what a group of pitiful people. Jianchen, Houston, Roy Jean, Heiyu, and Hong Lian remained frozen on the spot. They struggled to calm down their surging emotions. Xiaoling had easily forced 3 great saint emperors to flee. They felt extremely shocked from seeing someone who had surpassed Saint Emperor for the first time. I had never thought that there would still be those who have surpassed Saint Emperor in the present world that lacks origin energy. Roy Jean sighed deeply a long while later. Although he had learned of the barrier spirit's existence when he went to Mercenary City the first time with Jian Chen and Heiyu, the two of them had always believed that the barrier spirit was only a Saint Emperor at most. They had never thought that the barrier spirit was something that had surpassed Saint Emperor. The two of them knew that those who had surpassed Saint Emperor were invincible. Even in the ancient times, only 4 experts like this had appeared. Houston floated pale-faced next to Jian Chen for a very long time without saying anything. Xiaoling's voice that referred to Jian Chen as Big Brother constantly rang through his head. His heart had begun to churn long ago. He had never thought that Jian Chen was so close to the barrier spirit of Mercenary City, an existence that had surpassed Saint Emperor. Jian Chen calmed down soon. He looked in the direction of Mercenary City and said, since Xiaoling wanted to capture the Path Lord, the Tiger King, and Kaiser, but she left with such urgency, has something great happened in Mercenary City? Roy Jean thought for a while with that before he said, why don't we go to Mercenary City and check it out? Though after the disturbance from that earthworm, the violent energy has flooded everywhere. The space still has not stabilized yet, so we can't construct a space gate. Let's fly over. With that, Roy Jean carried Jian Chen as he flew. Roy Jean made his way to Mercenary City with Hong Lian, Heiyu, Houston, and the others. The experts of the 10 protector clans and various other saint kings from across the continent arrived where the 3 saint emperors had fought Xiaoling soon after they had left. All they discovered was the mess of a place that the region had become. I can feel a mystery's energy here, very similar to the origin energy on the weapons of the 2 magical beast experts, said Changyang Qingyun. That doesn't seem right. I can feel that the residual origin energy here is much purer than the origin energy in the weapons of the 2 magical beasts, said the pavilion master of the Pure Heart Pavilion, Wu Chenzi. However, a gleam of light flickered through her eyes. Then, she looked toward Mercenary City and said, they've already flown off to Mercenary City, though we can follow along and see. The Saint Kings from the Protector clans and various other organizations continued toward Mercenary City. Mercenary City had already been thrown into a mess. The violent shaking earlier had alarmed everyone there and people currently filled the streets. All of them pointed at the densely packed cracks on the ground as noisy discussions flooded their ears. All the people that had come to Mercenary City knew about the protective power over the city. The ground was countless times harder than steel, where even saint rulers could not leave a mark if they struck out as hard as they could. They could not believe that such thick cracks now covered the ground. A group of people of various ages currently floated sternly in the air in the center of the city, as they surveilled the entire city with Tianjian at their lead. Each and every one of them possessed extremely ugly expressions. Chapter 1017, Deep Underground. The ones who floated above Mercenary City were members of the upper echelon of Mercenary City. They were all elders, and even the weakest of them was a saint ruler. Grand Elder, just what has happened? Our city has the protective power of the barrier, and it's extremely tough. How has it ended up like this now? Has the barrier of our city disappeared? All the elders fell into a discussion, as they stared at the city riddled with huge cracks. They felt extremely suspicious and curious about the incident that Mercenary City had suffered, as well as some panic and confusion at the same time. The Grand Elder sternly stared at the huge cracks that covered all the streets and alleys. He too felt confused, unsure what exactly that had happened to Mercenary City and why it was like this now. Suddenly, Tianjian seemed to think of something. A gleam of light flashed through his eyes, and he thought, has something happened to the barrier spirit? His face immediately darkened slightly when he thought of that possibility. Mo Tianyun left the barrier spirit behind here all those years ago. Its existence was extremely important to Mercenary City, as it was the unnamed protector god of Mercenary City. If something really happened to the barrier spirit, it would definitely be an extremely heavy hit to Mercenary City. It's a pity that I can't communicate with the barrier spirit on my own initiative. I wonder what has happened to Mercenary City. If only Jian Chen was here. Though a great battle has just erupted in the direction of the Cross Mountains. There were magical beast saint emperors who took part in it, so by the looks of things, the two magical beast experts by Jian Chen's side probably fought the saint emperors of the beast god continent once again. Jian Chen should also be nearby if that's really the case, thought Tianjian. He had sensed the battle in the Cross Mountains earlier and wanted to go have a look. However, Mercenary City suddenly began to shake violently, so he had to stay behind. At this moment, several tremendous presences appeared outside and rapidly approached the city with lightning speed. Tianjian's gaze froze, and he quickly looked toward the direction of the presences. He could not help but smile. Jian Chen really has come at the right time. I just happened to need him to communicate with the barrier spirit and see what just has happened to Mercenary City. Jian Chen, Houston, Rui Jin, He Yu, and Hong Lian flew over from afar side by side. All of their gazes became mixed when they saw the huge barrier above the city. A sliver of respect appeared in Houston, Rui Jin, Hong Lian, and He Yu's eyes. It was the respect for the strong. They all knew that barrier spirit was the little girl who had surpassed Saint Emperor. Jian Chen never went into detail about Xiao Ling's true identity. To him, it did not matter whether Xiao Ling was a spirit of the earth or a barrier spirit. It was no longer important. Looks like something big really has happened here now that all the people of Mercenary City are in a panic. Jian Chen noticed the difference in Mercenary City from afar and his brows immediately furrowed in worry. Very soon, Jian Chen's group met up with the elders of Mercenary City. After a few greetings, they directly proceeded to the main topic. Senior Tianjian, may I ask just what has happened with Mercenary City? Why has it become like this? Jian Chen asked, as he looked at the messy Mercenary City. We don't know either. You can only ask the barrier spirit if you want to learn just what has happened today. Jian Chen, you have a close relationship with the barrier spirit. I hope you can communicate with the barrier spirit and ask what caused the incident with Mercenary City, Tianjian asked sternly. I'll try, replied Jian Chen. A sliver of uneasiness appeared in his heart for some reason, because he thought about some secretive matters Mo Tianyun had told him before. Afterward, Jian Chen softly called Xiao Ling's name a few times. However, he did not get any response this time. Jian Chen felt even grimmer. Currently, he felt more and more certain his thoughts. He had already connected the unforeseen event of Mercenary City and Xiao Ling's loss of composure earlier to the seal beneath Mercenary City. Some problem must have happened to it. Senior Tianjian, I am unable to help you this time, Jian Chen said rather dejectedly. He furrowed his brows from worry. He felt deeply anxious about Xiao Ling's safety. Sigh, Tianjian exhaled deeply. He raised his head to look at the huge barrier that was still present, and he too furrowed his brows tightly. Since Mo Tianyun founded Mercenary City, it had gone through the wind and the rain, but something like this had never happened before. The light in Jian Chen's eyes flickered for a while. He was hesitating over whether he should tell Tianjian and the others about the seal, so that they could mentally prepare themselves. At this moment, an invisible force suddenly surrounded Jian Chen. Before Jian Chen could even react, it bound him tightly. Then, it pulled him downward with lightning speed. Jian Chen! Rui Jin cried out. He immediately turned into a blur in an attempt to grab Jian Chen. However, Jian Chen just fell too quickly. Even with Rui Jin's strength, he could not grab him. In that instant, an invisible force pulled Jian Chen to the ground. Then, he directly disappeared into the ground as everyone watched on in shock. It left behind no mark on the floor. The expressions of Rui Jin, Heiyu, Hong Lian, and Houston all changed when they saw that. They glanced at each other before they all descended as if they had a tacit understanding of each other. They wanted to blast open the ground to save Jian Chen. Please wait. Tianjian obstructed them and said, "There's no need to worry, everyone. Mercenary City is protected by the barrier spirit, so outsiders cannot harm Jian Chen in here at all. Since Jian Chen is close with the barrier spirit, I assume that it's extremely likely that it was the barrier spirit itself that pulled Jian Chen into the ground." Rui Jin, Heiyu, Hong Lian, and Houston immediately calmed down after they heard this. They returned to the skies, as they quietly waited for Jian Chen. The mysterious force caused Jian Chen to rapidly sink and the soil parted as he moved downward. As such, he did not become stained with any silt or mud at all. Jian Chen had already experienced this before. He knew that Xiao Ling was behind this, so he was extremely calm. He let the force surround his body and did not show any resistance. Very soon, Jian Chen arrived in the depths underground. It was completely dark, to the point that he could not even see before him. Even with Jian Chen's eyesight, he could see nothing. Jian Chen subconsciously expanded his presence, but he could only expand at less than 1,000 meters even with its current power. A mysterious power suppressed his presence. However, through the senses of his presence, Jian Chen could tell that he was in a huge space underground. The energy here has become much thinner than the last time I came here, Jian Chen thought in surprise. He could still remember clearly that when Xiao Ling had taken him here for the first time, the energy was so thick that it had almost become liquid. Only a few years had passed since then, yet the energy had already become this thin. It was being consumed at a shocking rate. At this moment, a ball of white light suddenly appeared in the pitch-black world. It illuminated everything. Xiao Ling. Jian Chen immediately cried out when he saw the ball of light. The ball of light was from Xiao Ling. Her body seemed extremely illusionary, as if she was a figure constructed from light. Xiao Ling was no longer as energetic as before. Two clear streaks of tears ran down her cute, innocent face as fear clouded it completely. Something seemed to be frightening her. Jian Chen felt pained when he saw Xiao Ling like that. He asked in concern, "Xiao Ling, what has happened to you? What has happened?" Suddenly, Xiao Ling began to cry. She threw herself at Jian Chen's chest, as she cried loudly, hugging Jian Chen tightly. "Don't cry, Xiao Ling, come on. Tell Big Brother what has happened." Jian Chen hugged Xiao Ling back, as he comforted her. Although Xiao Ling's body was formed from energy, the energy had basically corporealized. As such, there were almost no differences to hugging a person with flesh and blood, except for the fact that Xiao Ling did not give off any heat. Big Brother, Big Brother. Xiao Ling is so scared. Xiao Ling is so scared. Master, Master, where are you? Come back quickly, Xiaoling really is so scared, Xiaoling sobbed in Jian Chen's bosom. She was quite frightened. Jian Chen felt sympathetic, as he looked at Xiaoling's weeping expression. He comforted softly, "Don't be scared, Xiaoling isn't Big Brother here. Don't worry, Big Brother will protect you." Jian Chen comforted Xiaoling for a very long time before she finally calmed down. Afterward, he asked, "Xiaoling, tell me honestly. Has something happened to the seal?" Xiaoling dried her tears and nodded her head firmly. She said, "Yeah, Big Brother, something ran out from the SE dash." Xiaoling suddenly stopped and immediately covered her mouth with her hand. She said with a muffled voice, "No, Xiaoling can't say it. Master said that Xiaoling can't say it to anyone." Jian Chen smiled and said, "Xiaoling, Big Brother saw your master a few years ago. Your master told Big Brother about everything here. There's a seal deep beneath Mercenary City, which seals up the entrance to the world of Forsaken Saints. Is Big Brother right?" Xiaoling unblinkingly stared at Jian Chen with her bright and innocent eyes, before nodding firmly twice. She had basically affirmed Jian Chen's words. "Xiaoling, even your master has told everything to Big Brother. You shouldn't hide it from Big Brother any longer. Be good, tell Big Brother what has happened here, okay?" Jian Chen said. "Okay. But Big Brother isn't allowed to tell anyone else. Master didn't let me to tell anyone all those years ago," Xiaoling said seriously. Jian Chen nodded silently. Afterward, Xiaoling described everything that had happened to Jian Chen. She hid nothing. Jian Chen immediately revealed an extremely ugly expression when he learned that a peerless expert of the world of Forsaken Saints had been attacking the seal. "Xiaoling, just how powerful is that expert from the world of Forsaken Saints who attacked the seal? Can you defeat him?" Jian Chen asked nervously. At this moment, he was so uneasy that his heart was beating heavily. Xiaoling shook her head without any hesitation and said, "Big Brother, that person is very strong. Master previously set down 2 seals all those years ago, one on the other side and one here. That person used a single attack to break through Master's seal on the other side, and the seal here probably would have been broken as well if Xiaoling didn't use everything she had to support it." Not only did Xiaoling use up all the energy that she had accumulated over many years to keep up the seal, but she even consumed a lot of her power. Xiaoling definitely wouldn't be able to bear with it if that person comes and attacks a few more times. Chapter 10:18, The 3 Levels of the Origin Realm. Xiaoling's words shocked Jian Chen. Xiaoling herself was a supreme expert who had surpassed Saint Emperor. She had to use her own strength, the seal Mo Tianyun left behind all those years ago, as well as the vast quantities of energy accumulated over countless years beneath Mercenary City to block the attack of the expert from the world of Forsaken Saints. So, just how terrifyingly powerful was this person's strength? Jian Chen immediately became filled with anxiety after learning what had happened to Mercenary City. He was almost certain that the person who had attacked the seal had surpassed Saint Emperor, which made Jian Chen feel extremely grim. The world of Forsaken Saints had already given birth to people who had surpassed Saint Emperor, and there must have been quite a few of them. There would also be quite a lot of Saint Emperors. On the other hand, within this world, the war god of the 100 races, Ergens, had already died in battle out of the 4 supreme champions. The strongest human, Mo Tianyun, had already disappeared with the winged tiger god, with only the sea goddess still alive. However, only her soul remained, so her strength was nowhere near her prime. Even with the 3 other great races in perspective, there were only a few Saint Emperors. How could they possibly repel the invasion of the terrifying world of Forsaken Saints with just this much? Xiaoling, if you were to face up against the person who attacked the seal, would you be able to beat him? Jian Chen stared fixedly at Xiaoling. There was only Xiaoling in the current world who possessed strength beyond Saint Emperor. Xiaoling shook her head without any hesitation and said, "Big brother, Xiaoling definitely can't defeat that person. Xiaoling assumes that person is at least at late returnance, or even at reciprocity." Returnance? Reciprocity? Jian Chen stared blankly when he heard these two unfamiliar words for the first time. He asked seriously, "Xiaoling, are the returnance and reciprocity you speak of realms beyond Saint Emperor?" "Yeah. These are all things that Master once told me. Master said that the Saint Rulers, Saint Kings, and Saint Emperors on the Tian Yuan continent are all part of sainthood, while the realm beyond that is the Origin realm. However, the Origin realm is split into 3 smaller realms, which are Receival, Returnance, and Reciprocity. Each smaller realm has another 3 levels," said Xiaoling, "so above Saint Emperors is the Origin realm." Jian Chen came to an understanding. Afterward, his face twitched, and he asked Xiaoling, "Xiaoling, what level of cultivation are you up to right now?" "Big brother, Xiaoling is only at early returnance right now." "Xiaoling can't defeat that person," Xiaoling said pitifully. She seemed like she had been wronged. Jian Chen was silent. With Xiaoling's explanations, he had gained an even clearer understanding toward the strength of the world of Forsaken Saints. Those who had surpassed Saint Emperor should be at Receival, while those who had even surpassed that should be at Returnance. Meanwhile, the person who attacked the seal was extremely likely to be at Reciprocity, which shocked him deeply. In the ancient times when Mo Tianyun had entered the world of Forsaken Saints all by himself, he killed over 20 people that had surpassed Saint Emperor, at Receival, and another 3 beyond that, at Returnance. According to his estimations, it was extremely likely that Mo Tianyun was at Returnance or Reciprocity. Yet now, Jian Chen felt extremely pressured as the world of Forsaken Saints had given birth to an expert as great as Mo Tianyun. After he bid Xiaoling farewell, Jian Chen heavy-heartedly returned to the surface. Tian Jian, Rui Jin, and the others remained floating high up in the sky. The various Saint Kings from the Protector clans and other organizations had gathered as well. Kaiser's presence had alarmed all of them and drawn them over. The group of elders behind Tian Jian had decreased substantially. Many of the elders at Saint Ruler had all been sent off to stabilize the situation of the city, as well as create a reason for the phenomenon. "Look, Jian Chen's back." They immediately discovered Jian Chen as soon as he appeared on the surface, and they all descended to his side. "Jian Chen, are you fine?" Rui Jin was the first one to speak. He was filled with concern. Although he had only met Jian Chen a while ago, Jian Chen was directly related to his chances of meeting his clansmen again. As a result, it could be said that Rui Jin and Hong Lian cared for Jian Chen's life the most after Tian Jian and Houston. "Jian Chen, what did the barrier spirit say to you? Did you understand why the phenomenon earlier had occurred?" Tian Jian asked impatiently. All the people from the 10 Protector clans were slightly startled by Tian Jian's questions. Their gazes toward Jian Chen immediately began to flicker with light. If Changyang Xiangtian of the Changyang clan had some connection to the barrier spirit of Mercenary City, it would be an extremely bad piece of news to them. After some thought, the great elders of the Protector Changyang clan all began to smile slightly at the same time. Their gazes toward Jian Chen carried some pride. Jian Chen did not immediately answer Tian Jian. He hesitated with a sunken expression. He pondered whether he should tell them all about the matter or not. A while later, Jian Chen finally made up his mind. He said, "Senior Tian Jian, the matter is important, so can we find a place where we can talk alone?" Tian Jian also understood the severity of the matter when he saw Jian Chen's sternness. He did not dare to hesitate at all and immediately brought Jian Chen into an independent space within Mercenary City. Afterward, Jian Chen told Tian Jian everything about the world of Forsaken Saints and Xiaoling's situation over there, including when he met a fragment of Mo Tianyun's soul. He only hid the matter concerning the Yinyang Saint Rock. When Tian Jian learned about the world of Forsaken Saints from Jian Chen, he became stunned. He did not return to his senses even after a very long time. The existence of such a world shocked Tian Yuan, where he struggled to stay calm even with his mental fortitude. He was speechless. Only after an extremely long time did Tian Jian finally return to his senses. He sucked in a deep breath and slowly suppressed his shock. He stared at Jian Chen with interest and asked him with a slightly trembling voice, "Jian Chen, is that all true? Is there really a tunnel to the world of forsaken saints hidden beneath Mercenary City?" The sudden trembling of Mercenary City was also because an expert from that world who has surpassed Saint Emperor was attacking the seal. "I'm absolutely certain," Jian Chen replied sternly. He had really wanted to continue to hide the matter of the world of forsaken saints. This was to prevent panic on the Tian Yuan continent after the new broke out. However, he could no longer afford to choose this course of action now that the matter had developed to such a state. Tian Jian's complexion changed very quickly and it became extremely ugly. He said hoarsely, "We need to tell the 10 protector clans about this immediately so that we can come up with a plan of counterattack. Jian Chen, come with me as well." Tian Jian left hurriedly with Jian Chen. Tian Jian immediately found the people of the protector clans and members of the other organizations after he left the independent space. Then, he sternly invited them to a meeting in Mercenary City. He even invited Rui Jin, Hong Lian, He Yu, and Houston. Houston and Hong Lian did not follow along due to their injuries. Instead, the elders of Mercenary City gave them a place to recuperate. Only Rui Jin and He Yu followed along. Several elders of Mercenary at Saint King gathered with several dozen experts from the protector clans and other organizations in a majestic hall. Throughout the entire process, Tian Jian maintained an extremely sunken expression. No one understood the reason for this other than Jian Chen. They had no idea what had happened that would make the Grand Elder of Mercenary City behave like this. Tian Jian cut right to the chase and told everyone present about the news regarding the world of forsaken saints that he had learned from Jian Chen. He went into particularly great detail about their strength. All of them became dumbstruck after learning about the world of forsaken saints. Disbelief flooded their faces. The news from Tian Jian was doubtlessly like a bolt from the blue, it stunned them all. "Grand Elder, what did you say? There's a seal beneath Mercenary City that seals the entrance to another world? Grand Elder, is that true? Does the world of forsaken saints really exist? Are they really that powerful? Grand Elder, that's a little too exaggerated. Let's not talk about whether that world exists or not first." Just over 20 experts who had surpassed Saint Emperor and 3 people even beyond that is shocking enough, yet all of them actually died to Mo Tianyun. We find that extremely difficult to believe. Grand Elder, may I ask where you obtained this information? An uproar broke out after a lull of silence. All the people present, regardless of being from the protector clans or other organizations, spoke their doubts. What Tian Jian had said was just a little too out of hand, to the point where no one present believed it. "Everyone be quiet please." Tian Jian raised his hand to stop all their discussions. Afterward, he pointed to Jian Chen and said, "I heard all this information regarding the world of forsaken saints from my friend here, Jian Chen. Jian Chen's understanding is much greater than mine. If everyone has any further doubts, you are welcome to ask Jian Chen." "What? You heard this information from Jian Chen? Ha ha ha. Grand Elder, aren't you a little too naive? You'd even believe such an outrageous thing," said a ruddy old man, as he laughed aloud. He did not believe the information at all. Jian Chen glanced at the old man. He recognized him. It was a great elder of the Yuan sect. "Yeah, Grand Elder. How can you just believe something so outrageous? It must be fake, no doubt. Otherwise, why would there be no record of something so great within the protector clans at all?" Another great elder of a protector clan added. The pavilion master of the Pure Heart Pavilion clasped her hands at Jian Chen and said, "My friend here shouldn't be someone who likes to tell lies, but the matter regarding the world of Forsaken Saints is just too outrageous. May I ask if you have any evidence for the other world's existence? Or maybe you could lead us to the seal underneath Mercenary City? We wish to hear the truth regarding this." The Protector clans were all founded in the ancient times and had survived since then. They were even older than Mo Tianyun, so all of the people from the Protector clans felt extremely confident. Any major matter that had occurred in this world would possess records in their archives, while the world of Forsaken Saints, a huge matter itself, was not present at all. This was why they did not believe in its existence. Also, such important news came from Jian Chen, who was a junior, which made it even harder for them to believe. Chapter 1019, Jian Chen's Desire, Right. Brother Jian Chen, why don't you take us to below Mercenary City? That way, you can show us the seal, and we can confirm whether this is real or not. Otherwise, it really is hard for us to believe your words, said a striking middle-aged man. He did not belong to the Protector clans and was actually an ancestor of an ancient clan. He was extremely powerful and his name was well known, even among the Protector clans. Jian Chen stood calmly beside Tian Jian. Their doubts did not surprise him at all, as it was all in his expectations. Indeed, this news was just too shocking. No news regarding the world of Forsaken Saints had ever appeared on the Tianyuan continent either, so anyone who suddenly heard about it would find it hard to believe as well. If the person who had told Jian Chen the news was not Mo Tianyun, but a child far younger than him, Jian Chen would not have believed it either. He would just treat it all as a joke. Jian Chen calmly glanced past everyone. He did not see any seriousness among them even after they learned about the world of Forsaken Saints. Instead, they were all apathetic. Some of them even smiled sarcastically. None of them cared about the matter. Jian Chen could not help but sigh gently inside. He shook his head, "Apologies, but I cannot take you underground to inspect the seal. Anyway, I have told you all everything I know about the world of Forsaken Saints. Whether you believe it or not will be up to you." The region below Mercenary City was Xiao Ling's territory. Without Xiao Ling's permission, even Saint Emperors would not be able to enter there. Jian Chen knew without even thinking that it would be impossible to get Xiao Ling to take them all down to the seal. Humph. The matters regarding the world of Forsaken Saints really are a bunch of lies. Jian Chen, weaving such an outrageous story to trick us, just what are you trying to do? Said a great elder of the Yuan sect with a rather aggressive tone. Jian Chen had some disagreements with the Yuan sect, so he naturally did not respond politely. He stared coldly at the great elder and said, "You will naturally know in the future if the matters regarding the world of Forsaken Saints are a bunch of lies from me or not." The meeting broke up very quickly. All the people from the Protector clans returned to their respective clans. The battle with the magical beast Saint Emperor had initially drawn them over, but no one was in the mood to pay attention to it after what had happened to Mercenary City. In the end, Jian Chen's make-believe story regarding the world of Forsaken Saints had affected them in particular, disturbing their thoughts. Although none of them believed the foreign world's existence, they firmly memorized its name. The fact that the foreign world once had over 20 experts that had exceeded Saint Emperor had shocked them in particular. None of them believed Jian Chen's words, but over 20 people that had surpassed Saint Emperor was a huge deterrence force by itself. Jian Chen settled down in a room Tian Jian organized to recuperate, while Tian Jian and the various Saint Kings of Mercenary City all gathered in the floating Divine Hall. "Grand Elder, do you really believe what Jian Chen has said? Is there really a huge seal deep underground Mercenary City? If the world of Forsaken Saints really does exist and the tunnel to it has been sealed up underneath Mercenary City, the City Lord should have left behind some information as well, so that people in the future can keep watch. Why would he hide it?" All the elders spoke their suspicions. They also struggled to believe the world of forsaken saints and the matters around it. Tianjian paced around the center of the hall with his arms crossed. He tightly furrowed his brows and said in thought, "It really is hard to accept such an important matter to spring up so suddenly. However, if that's not the case, how would the trembling of Mercenary City be explained? And it's not like Jian Chen is a person who lies. He is so close with the barrier spirit as well, so I think the world of forsaken saints is more likely to be true than false." The elders immediately became stern after they heard Tianjian's analysis. One of them said with a deep voice, "If this really is true, then what force will we, the Tianyuan continent, use to repel the invasion? According to Jian Chen's description of the world of forsaken saints, we're not their opponent even if the Tianyuan continent, the beast god continent, the sea race, and the 100 races work together. After all, it's no longer the ancient times. We don't have the 4 supreme champions and the many saint emperors. If the world of forsaken saints really does invade, we probably don't have any abilities to resist at all," said another elder. His expression was very ugly. Tianjian pondered, as he slowly paced around the main entrance of the divine hall. He raised his head to look at the void and mumbled, "The war god of the ancient times has reappeared on the Tianyuan continent, while even the winged tiger god is born once again. The sea goddess is still alive, while a genius has appeared on our continent, Jian Chen. Perhaps they have come into existence because of this disaster? That they're only born at the same time in order to repel the world of forsaken saints? Only the city lord knew about the world of forsaken saints. The city lord had also set down a rule with the elders. If the winged tiger god reappears, we must support it when it has not fully matured. He also stated that we should not worry about any harm the winged tiger god would bring to the Tianyuan continent. Has the city lord foreseen all those years ago that the seal to the world of forsaken saints will break when the winged tiger god reappears in the future? If it's really like that, the city lord's abilities all those years ago probably would have already reached heaven-defying levels, far exceeding our level of understanding." Suddenly, Tianjian turned to the elders behind him and said, "It doesn't matter if the world of forsaken saints is real or not. Do not leak it out, or it'll throw the entire continent into fear." In a cold, quiet room, milky white light dyed the dark room snow white. Jian Chen sat in the center as he used Radiant Saint Force to heal himself. Although Jian Chen sustained very heavy injuries in the battle before, he only used an extremely short amount of time to fully recover under the healing of both his chaotic body and Radiant Saint Force. Jian Chen slowly opened his eyes after making a full recovery. He immediately removed the Octaterra Divine Hall from his space ring. It was currently the size of a fist, but Kaiser had already reduced the majestic Divine Hall had to ruins. It was no longer as mighty as it was before. Jian Chen stared at the ruined Divine Hall with a pained expression. Although he had only obtained it recently, it had helped him greatly. The Divine Hall's existence allowed him to treat the Protector clans as equals. The power of the Divine Hall has not disappeared. It should be repairing itself right now, but it's extremely slow. By this speed, it'll take at least several decades or even over a century to full repair, Jian Chen mumbled as he stared at the Divine Hall, before he placed it back into his space ring. He knew that he would not be able to use it for a very long time in the future. Afterward, Jian Chen pulled out the Saint artifact. The artifact had endured several attacks from Kaiser. Although Kaiser failed to destroy it, clear marks were left behind. Despite this, the level of damage was insignificant compared to the Divine Hall. The Saint artifact could also repair itself, so it would return to pristine condition without much time. The Saint artifact really is much tougher than the Octaterra Divine Hall. If a Saint Emperor wants to destroy it, they'll need to expend quite a lot of effort. On the other hand, Kaiser smashed the Octaterra Divine Hall after just a few attacks. However, the only problem with the Saint artifact is that its attacks are just too weak. If I come across a Saint Emperor, I won't be able to enter the artifact space at all, or it'll be no different than throwing myself at the jaws of death," murmured Jian Chen. The defense of the saint artifact was startling, but it was just an item in the end. It could not flee at all before a saint emperor, and if it ended up in the hands of that saint emperor, it would be destroyed one day or another. Jian Chen held the saint artifact, as he thought deeply. He thought, "I've told the 10 protector clans about the world of forsaken saints, but they don't believe it exists at all. They all think that I am lying, and that I'm weaving up a story to trick them. Sigh, looks like making them believe the existence of the world of forsaken saints is virtually impossible. Though, it doesn't matter if they don't believe me. An expert greater than Xiaoling has already appeared in that world, and there will definitely be people at Receival. There are probably quite a few saint emperors as well. They're nothing that this world can repel. Everyone here is too weak. The top priority is to increase the overall strength of this world, but the only way for them to all undergo a noteworthy increase is by refining the Yinyang Saint Rock. It's the Yinyang Saint Rock's existence that's making breakthroughs much harder now. According to what Senior Mo Tianyun said, once it disappears, the laws of the world will return to how they were in the ancient times. The experts currently at the 9th heavenly layer or great perfection of Saint King will only need an extremely short amount of time to reach Saint Emperor, while more Saint Rulers and Saint Kings will appear. It's a pity that the power of the Yinyang Saint Rock is just too powerful. I can't absorb it with my current strength. I can probably only absorb it after I reach the 5th layer of the chaotic body with the heavenly enchantress according to the azulate swords. Jian Chen could not help but think of the erotic incident that had occurred between him and the heavenly enchantress when he thought of her. He immediately became strewn with mixed emotions. He still needed to cultivate with the heavenly enchantress in order to absorb the power of the Yinyang Saint Rock and refine the Yinyang Qi into his own power. The 5th layer of the chaotic body, the 5th layer of the chaotic body. I am currently at the 3rd. So just how fast can I reach the 5th layer? I can absorb the energy of the rock once I reach the 5th layer. Moreover, according to the sword spirits, I can reach the 8th layer after I absorb all of its power, or even the 9th. At that time, I should be able to fight those at returnance or even reciprocity. Jian Chen stood up, and his eyes became filled with desire. You're tuning into the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.